Incoming transmission.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another day here of the GSL Code S. We had a crazy day yesterday, by the way. If you missed the VODs, check them out. We had a crazy StarCraft 1 for StarCraft 2. I guess StarCraft Evo is the mod name, but wild day. Excited to be back here at GSL. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing fantastic, man. I'm still riding the high of yesterday, casting this new mod with StarCraft 1 races versus StarCraft 2 races. We had pros from the ASL here competing alongside pros from the GSL, and it was just a really fun day, man. I can't get over it.
It was a special evening. Good to be back here doing StarCraft 2. We've got an interesting group. I think one where it's pretty tough to say who exactly is going to be advancing. Maybe not our strongest group, but I think the games themselves, should be pretty interesting.
Yeah, I absolutely think so. Solar, you know, he didn't have the best result last season after winning a GSL last year, which is surprising, but I mean, GSL championship curse does kind of exist. It comes up quite often where someone like Mara will win and then get knocked out in the first round, or someone like Solar will win.
It is
Same will happen to him. And you see the predictions right there. So I'm of two minds about this, because I agree that Solar and ByuN probably the favorites to advance from today, but Nightmare, in my opinion, is being criminally underrated. This is a guy that has been in the round of 16 of GSL pretty much every season going back what feels like years. And I think in the past couple of months, especially since the most recent patch that hit during the last GSL season, he has been beating basically everybody online. And he's always been, Nightmare has always kind of been one of these guys that's a bit of an online warrior. He will do much better in the online tournaments from the comfort of his own home, without the pressure of a live studio audience, than he will in the GSL, even after qualifying for like a dozen or more GSL Code S's. But I feel like the pedigree of players that he is taking out in recent tournaments online is so much higher than it was before. He's going to have a breakout season. It might not be this one, but this year I think Nightmare is definitely going to perform beyond a lot of people's expectations.
Yeah. I think we're going to be cutting to a video here.
No,
excuse me.
I
didn't quite hear production back there. Guys, this is a crowd-funded event, so if you want to support the GSL, do the right thing, check out the links, or you can go to our Patreon, either Star Balloons or Patreon. That will be going to the prize pool here. As you can see, actually, I think we're behind. I'm looking at the Korean production. They're ahead of us.
Oh, yeah, they are.
Sorry. Well, you'll see the brackets in a second. Here we go. So you can see already, you know, we're getting closer and closer here to the round of 8 as we're just wrapping up, you know, A and B here, and going into C and D next. But yeah, you know, the support's appreciated. It's good to be back doing GSL again.
Get some fun perks too, like behind-the-scenes videos and pictures, as well as all the replay packs. I'm pretty sure still get posted quite quickly. I mean, there are a lot of games you want to choose from here. A little bit of something for everybody with Maru, Creator, Hero, and Sue already qualifying for the round of 8. So whether you're a Terran, a Protoss, or a Zerg, a lot of games you can watch and learn a little bit from if you want to do that.
So this is Group D happening today. Group C is going to be next week.
It's a dyslexic iteration of the GSL this year.
And we're going to go to a quick video, guys, and then start our games.
D조 강민수 선수의
D조가 아무래도 제일 강한 선수가 마지막에 들어오다 보니까 이게 제가 첫 상대도 중요하지만 그 다음 상대도 중요하더라고요. 3번째. 그래서 원래 타종 선수를 뽑으려고 했는데 저랑 생각이 잘 맞는 저그 선수 중에 한 명 생각 중입니다.
지금 유독 많이 웃고 있는 저그 선수가 한 분 계시긴 하거든요.
아니요, 없어요.
그럼 강민수 선수와 생각이 맞는다는 그 저그분 혹시 누군지 알 수 있을까요?
제가 볼 때 수호 형이 저랑 잘 맞을 것 같아요.
일단 본인 생각이 뭔지 얘기를 해줘야 알 것 같은데요.
그러니까 이제 제가 수호 형 뽑으면 그 다음에 이제 거의 바로 뽑을 수 있으니까 이제 같이 좀 쉬운 상대를 골라가자 이 말이죠, 제 말은.
충분히 용의가 있습니다, 그러면.
그리고 지금 안 뽑히시면 준호 형이랑 해야 돼요. 생각 잘하세요, 여러분. 네, 그러면 말한 대로 박수호 선수 지명하겠습니다.
저 그립을 깨고 싶다 이런 생각이 있으실까요?
뭐 민수가 개칭해서 그러고 싶기도 한데 근데 실리가 최우선이라서 일단 지금 상황에서 민수의 옵션 탑3를 들어보고 싶네요.
아 저는 근데 지금 너무 좋아요. 맛집들이 좀 많은 것 같아가지고 아 이거 너무 진수성찬이라 이거 뭘 먼저 먹어야 될지 모르겠네요. 그냥 수호 형 먹고 싶은 음식으로 고르셨으면 좋겠습니다.
아니면 혹시 저는 어떠신가요, 수호 형?
소스는 뽑을 생각이 없어.
아, 네.
자, 과연 강민수와 박수호의 맛집은 누구일지 박수 선수 지명을 해주시기 바랍니다.
우기 뽑겠습니다.
어? 뭐야?
지금 둘이서 막 맛집이니 뭐니 막 이런단 말이에요. 깨 부셔주겠다 이런 말씀 가능하실까요?
당연히 꽤 불사하죠. 민수 형 저번 시즌처럼 만들어줘야지.
저는 근데 진짜 개인적으로 우리가 진짜 잘 됐으면 좋겠어요. 우리 꼭 1대 우승해서 사우디 가자. 파이팅!
아무도 말고 하고 이렇게
파이팅 파이팅!
말을 하다가
자, 지금 D조는 사실 4명 전부 다 행복해 보인단 말이에요. 일단 강민 선수 먼저 말씀 부탁드리겠습니다.
저 4번째 자리에 변현우 씨가 있거든요. 너무 만족스럽고요. 그 패자전 갔었죠 오늘? 패자전 간 사람이 어떻게 저기 4등 픽에 있나 놀라울 따름이고 만나게 된다면 현우 형 어차피 8배럭 마린 탱크 올인만 하니까 그냥 러커 8마리 어떻게든 띄워서 이기겠습니다.
뭐 저도 지금 상황에서 만들 수 있는 베스트 조가 되는 것 같아서 개인적으로 굉장히 만족합니다.
박영호 선수가 왔으면 좀 큰일 날 것 같아가지고 기도하고 있었는데 운 좋게 최근에 이긴 변은규 선수가 와서 다행이라 생각합니다.
변 선수 소망대로 마지막까지 남으셨는데 취급이 거의 동네 북이란 말이에요 지금.
이런 취급을 원한 건 아닌데 민수는 기분 좋아하는 거 인정하는데 수호 형이랑 자욱 선수는 좋아하는 게 이해가 안 돼요. 저는 제가 좋아해도 제가 좋아해야 되는 거 아닌가. 그래서 저는 그래도 마지막에 뽑혔으니까 실력대로 간 거 같진 않은데 그래도 만족을 하고 아마 제가 GSL 참가한 이후로 가장 쉬운 D조가 아닌가 생각해요.
서로 그러니까 D조에 있는 선수들 다 그렇게 생각할 것 같은데 이 정도면 가능하지 않을까.
변현우 선수가 제일 강한 사람이라고 전혀 생각이 되지 않아서 굉장히 만족스럽습니다.
맛있다고 막 표현을 하셨는데 민수 형이랑 같이 오히려 제가 더 좋았거든요 뽑았을 때. 그래가지고 저는 괜찮았던 것 같아요.
팀원들의 그 선박 우승에서 저의 위치를 확인을 못하고 이번 D조는 저로 인해서 그냥 역대 최약의 조가 되지 않았나 싶어요.
All right, well, it's pretty funny seeing that how bad Creator wanted to be in this group with Solar and DRG. Instead, they pick another Protoss player. They go for Nightmare, who seems quite pleased with this. And I'm surprised that they were so pleased with this selection because for Solar and DRG, I don't think Nightmare and ByuN are actually going to be that easy. ByuN's always been a really dangerous Terran player. He has some quirky builds that can come out and kill you right away. And Nightmare has just been quietly getting better and better and better every Code S. And I feel like this might not be the strongest group in the round of 16 this season, but the players are very evenly matched.
Absolutely. Look, I think Nightmare, at least from my perspective, he's kind of the guy that I'm going to be looking at in this group. I want to see if he can get out, because if there's a group he could navigate, he could escape and go to the next level of GSL, I would say this is it.
Absolutely, man. I mean, Nightmare is the kind of guy that lately has been beating players like Gumiho, Cure, Bunny, DRG, Ragnarok, Clem in online tournaments just in the last couple of weeks. And of course, he's losing some matches too, but I'm really excited to watch him in the second match. But before we get there, it's going to be another ZVZ here for Solar, who, if you remember last year, went on this incredible tear in ZVZ where it felt like he was nearly unstoppable. I think he had like a 90% plus win rate over I don't even know how many games in series, and he rode that momentum all the way to a GSL title. Here he's going to try again against DRG. Now, Solar, he hasn't been quite as successful against the Zergs in the mirror matchups as he was last year, but still one of his best matchups, if not his best matchup, as it is right now.
I think DRG could take this. Solar probably the more likely guy to actually come out ahead, but DRG's pretty scary. He does seem to be like either really hot or really cold. Yeah. You know, I never know which DRG I'm going to get on a given day. I mean, there was obviously the period in Heart of the Swarm where DRG was like the de facto Zerg best player, basically. Like, if you were a student of Zerg, you were watching DRG's games. He did his military service and came back. He was looking a little bit weak, but every once in a while in these GSLs, he plays extremely well.
Yeah, he definitely had this second resurgence for a little bit while, and since then it's been kind of a bit of a calmness to his play. It's not as explosive as it was back when he was the king of Mutiling Bane many, many years ago. But, you know, here against Solar, who's looking a little bit weaker in ZVZ than in the past, maybe DRG can pick up a sneaky 2-0 or 2-1 win here to start off the group and find his way to the round of 8. Guys, we're going to find out. Let's kick off Group D here. Solar versus DRG.
Okay, so we have Solar here in the top right, DRG in the bottom left.
Wow, that's an early gas and pool, too. I think might have been 13 gas, 12 pool.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. I was, you know, I was literally about to say, if sometimes ZVZ is a little bit slow, we got to see which player actually, you know, deviates from the build. Sometimes they'll both go hatch at the same time or pool at the same time. This is going to be a very, very heavy rush. Solar is going for hatch first, which is generally never a good sign if a player is going for a very quick pool like this.
Welcome down to the studio, fellas.
Good to see you guys down here.
Yeah, 2 days in a row with some pretty packed audiences here at the GSL.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, let's see how this rush actually does. We need to see when that pool is going to start. It is gas before pool, which is pretty typical. But again, the later the pool, the stronger the rush is going to be here from DRG. He went for Ling speed immediately.
Yeah, and with that gas timing, I think Solar's Ling speed is probably going to finish at like 330, 335 maybe at the earliest. So there's about 2 minutes before that finishes where DRG can find, I think, a lot of damage, even already throwing down the Baneling Nest. 11 drones on minerals, 2 on gas. That's going to be DRG's economy for probably the rest of this game.
Yeah.
He's going to try and end this one as quickly as he possibly can. Now for Solar, I'm curious if he is going to go for speed. He still hasn't spotted the rush just yet. But I wouldn't mind in this position him throwing down a really fast Baneling Nest even before speed just to try and hold on, because this is rush. It's about to kick off here. The Lings have already arrived at the hatchery as soon as it pops.
Now there's no drones being pulled here, so he's hitting the hatch pretty hard. The Baneling's Nest for Solar is started now. He is trying, it looks like he might want to try to come up here and basically kill the Lings as they hatch out.
I like this a lot.
Yeah, I feel like we don't see this actually very often, but I look at it and I go, yeah, that makes perfect sense.
I feel like Solar should almost just cancel those, at least that first pair of Lings in production, right?
Yeah, it's kind of genius what he did back there. He's making 2 Banelings just around the corner over here. Now we have Lings escaping right now. Not full on fighting this, but instead heading across the map. Now with Link speed, you can just chase down slow Lings and get the execute. The hatchery is about to go down. He's banking the Banes for the time being. We have one, no, sorry. Well, yeah, one Spine Crawler actually finished. That's an Evo chamber, I think, blocking it off. Yeah.
He's basically building a wall in the main base right now, and very smart of him just to leave that hatchery up. I would like to see one Ling take that thing down, but before then, gonna try and come in here, but this Evolution Chamber actually blocking so well here. The mineral line, the Baileys are gonna find their way in. Is there space for the drones? A couple of hits right there. 3 drones go down to start. At least 1 or 2 more should get picked off here by the Lings, and indeed they do. And this might be enough damage for DRG to go back home and just kind of macro out of it. He's equalized the worker counts. Solar has lost a lot. He lost the hatchery, he lost a lot of units, he lost his drones.
But they're kind of in the same spot, right? I mean, it's 17 workers on both sides. I guess, you know, the truth is DRG is getting a second hatchery pretty quickly right now. So I would say DRG a little bit ahead, but still a playable position right now from Solar.
Yeah, I think the big advantage that DRG has is that his hatchery starting back in his natural is going to be considerably quicker than Solar will be able to throw down his hatchery here at the top right side of the map. So in that case, or at least in that regard, DRG does have the advantage. But as soon as Solar's Ling speed finishes up, I wouldn't be surprised if he kind of took map control for his own, because DRG's been running really heavily behind this. And Solar is still making a lot of Lings. He's incrementing them out in addition to these drones.
Yeah, I don't know if DRG wants to dive in here. I mean, if you're good enough to pull the Lings away, it's, well, you know, he's buying a lot of time. Oh, my God. I think the drone gets away. Yeah.
1 HP.
He's going to send a... I mean, this is actually pretty sick.
Oh, my God. If he gets this drone, he does. The 1
so
HP
good.
drone went back to the main base. I mean, DRG's whole game plan here is just to delay the natural expansion, and he has been doing that. It's a great success.
That was really awesome.
Uh-oh.
Did our screen just freeze? Okay, we're back.
I think we're going to be okay.
I think we're okay.
A little bit of maybe network lag there. It's rare, but it still happens even in Korea.
Yeah. Even in the setup that we've had forever. Yeah, I mean, DRG's in a great spot. Again, I love the fact that he was blocking that hatchery the way he was and kind of maintaining his advantage.
Yeah, that's going to be 20 seconds where these drones just cannot mine fully here from this natural expansion. Solar is distance mining this with, God, it looks like almost 10 drones. Over here on Minerals behind it, DRG in the bottom left side of the map going to be going for the Roach Warren. Be careful with those Banelings, DRG. Don't want to trade those out. And on 33 drones, he's already starting Roach production. I wonder how hard he's going to commit to this. He might just go pedal to the metal here, knowing that Solar, he scouts the Roach Warren. Yeah, I would be keen on him moving across the map with some more Roaches, but he's starting one more drone. We'll see how hard he commits. But from DRG's perspective in this situation, you know that Solar, his Roach Warren is only, what, halfway done now at this stage.
Yeah.
The second hatchery's only just finished. The first inject only just begun. Solar is really wanting for Larva right now, so DRG has a couple options. He could have gone for Roaches to levy some pressure.
Well, you know,
take advantage of it, but instead he's just teching up. He's getting Evolution Chamber, getting a lair. And it's going to be Solar going for a little bit of aggression here. Oh my God, those Baneling hits tasteless.
Yeah, there's still a couple Banes.
Oh,
yeah, not bad.
wow.
He actually takes out 5. I thought for a little bit that just wasn't going to work, but at the last second he pulled it off. Queen just barely alive with 6 HP there. I like the way that DRG's played this. You know, he's just steadily keeping further ahead here in this game. That third hatchery is going to finish up along with the layer for DRG. I guess the only thing really that Solar's going to have going for him is his missile attack upgrade's going to be finishing a little bit ahead. So maybe there's an opportunity or some kind of a timing there. But even now, there's a third base being taken. It's kind of like Solar's just behind in every dimension of the game.
Yeah, he just has that upgrade advantage, really. It's going to be +1 and Roach speed that are going to be just a pace ahead from DRG. But we'll see exactly how much that matters here as word count's dead even, army supplies almost dead even. I think the third base for Dongregu a little bit faster than it is for Solar. And in a Roach versus Roach battle, considering that third expansion on this map, Crimson Court does have the high-yield Vespian gas, which, yeah, he's already mining from. It could be a slight edge here for DRG. This hatchery is still maybe 20 seconds away from completion. So.
Yeah, and you know, it's funny. You know, sometimes something early on in the game, it just ripples through the entire rest of the game, and I just keep going back to that delayed expansion. I mean, he killed the hatchery the first time, but then just slowing the drone from planting that hatchery later on, and DRG's just made the game overall very comfortable for himself. But look, he's not out of the woods yet. I think, you know, Solar is probably one of the very best Zergs in the whole world at playing behind from a position like this.
Yeah, Solar also is really good with the ZVZ engagements, but with DRG already have map control like this and being able to take down this extractor from the low ground with the Ravagers, that's a pretty big
so
win.
Funny. That didn't even occur to me, of course. Yeah, you could just pick that off and run right back.
Yeah, that's huge for DRG because the whole goal with that third base is to get a high-yield Vespian gas. It makes such a big impact in Roach Ravager versus Roach Ravager. You can see DRG's gas income and mineral income. They're pretty substantial here. It's a little bit less mineral heavy, more gas heavy here for DRG, but the fact that he's able to pull that off with this high-yield Vespian gas, it's a big win. Look at the Ravager counts.
Now, +1 missile attack did finish here for DRG, so he's going to be in pretty good shape in this fight. A little dive in here from Solar as he tries to pick off that Ravager. Some of these biles actually connecting very nicely.
Yeah, the biles are really good here for DRG so far. Even if they don't connect, they force Solar to micro way more than he wants to, and that means that DRG's army is a little bit more sustained in terms of DPS. And this fight is very quickly snowballing in DRG's favor. That bile going to be a good one. Does connect with a couple of Roaches. One of them goes down. Solar trying to inch forward and pick up some Ravagers, but that's going to be it, man.
Dude, great game from DRG. Kind of a master class in a control ZVZ. You know, he's never getting the killing blow, but every victory gets him about 2 steps ahead of his opponent.
Yeah, the early game pressure. After that, it felt like Solar was in a little bit of a better spot just because he had the queens. He didn't sustain too much damage from the Ling bailing. His supply was ahead. But the real impact of that push was the fact that the hatchery died, and then it took so long for Solar to remake it. And not just because of the push, but also because of that really high finesse micro that DRG did to force the first drone back on 1 HP to the main base, and then the second drone, he gets the kill on it. Delayed that hatchery by maybe 20, 30 seconds there, the natural expansion. And that kind of impact in a mirror matchup like ZVZ is huge. The third base there for Solar, or the third expansion then for Solar was a pace behind, and that meant that DRG had the higher gas income, was able to get the Ravager count to deny the gas at Solar's base, and everything just expanded forward from there. Let's see if DRG is able to close this one out with a surprise 2-0 as we head into game number 2.
Okay, so right away, I gotta watch and see, is DRG gonna do anything like game 1? Because all of game 1 came down to the initial build order working, and then DRG, both with good control, but also just with the proper decisions, managed to constantly stay ahead. And, you know, eventually, Solar just taps out. I mean, the final nice move that got him in that position to close out the game to get ahead was just having those Ravagers bile down the better extractor. And the only reason why he was able to do that is because he got those other bases up more quickly. This game is very different in that both players are going for expanding plays, probably going to be gas and then spawning pool after that. But we don't see the fork in the road. We don't see the deviation in builds. And I do think if Solar is given you know, more of a fair playing ground at the start, he might just be the stronger player here.
Yeah, I got to agree with you. Solar, he's not quite as in form in ZVZ as he was towards the end of last year, but in my opinion, still one of the best, if not the best, ZVZ players on a rate basis. DRG was able to sneakily take that game number 1 with a really clever and well-executed play to start things out and then snowballing it from there. But here with mirrored builds, I wonder when the deviation is going to be and what that deviation will actually entail from these two players, because from DRG's perspective, you won game 1 with some pretty clever tactics there in game number 1.
Yeah.
And you might now look at this best of 3 and be like, okay, I can play 2 relatively normal macro games here against my opponent. I only need to win one of them to win the series. So it might be him now just trying to play this a little bit more safe and just kind of absorb the impact of Solar if there is one coming his way over the course of these next 2 games, because he really can play the odds. It's Solar now on match point that needs to make something happen. LT falls to the loser's match.
Right. Excuse me. So for now, again, things are very, very mirrored, other than the 2 Lings here from DRG and the 2 drones from Solar. But yeah, we're going to have to wait and see. You know, is there going to, for instance, be a layered tech coming up? No, it's going to be 3 bases on either side. So for now, all we can do is watch and see, is it going to be continuous drones, or is one of them, or maybe even both of them, although I feel like it almost never happens, just start to go mass Lings?
It might happen, but we'll have to wait and see. Both players throwing down bailing nests at exactly the same time. These builds are very mirrored. DRG is making 1 more queen than his opponent, but besides that, we're pretty much just tit for tat here as these 4 Lings going to move cross map. A little bit of damage here on this hatchery, but if I'm not mistaken, Solar does have, he does have these 4 Lings too, so.
Yeah, and he's going to make 6 more actually now. It seems like what DRG wants to do is send these 4 out and then drone heavily behind it. And that's actually prompted 6 more Lings. Keep in mind there were 4 that we already saw, so that's going to be 10 total.
So it looks like he's going to be dropping either the Roach Warren or Evolution Chamber there at the wall end too. Just try and button that up nice and steadily. And in fact, even the Roach Warrens are completely mirrored in their timings. I mean, this is one of these games that, if you want to support the GSL, it'd be good to get on the Patreon if you want to learn how to play ZVZ, because when both players are doing builds this mirrored, you know it's something good to copy, right? I mean,
Yeah,
there's
exactly.
a reason they're doing basically the exact same thing, is because this is solid, it is safe, it works with what they're scouting, and it's just a naturally robust way to develop But it means that we're going to have to wait at least another minute, really, for some deviation, I think. Now, DRG is going for a little bit more Lings and Banelings, so might try to levy some pressure on the expansion here of Solar. And that's the first real break, is DRG leaning a little bit more heavily into the Lings and Solar leaning a little bit more heavily into the Roaches here around the 4-minute mark.
Okay, so we've got the Banelings coming down now. Little mohawks on top of them. And nice targeting. One Baneling is wiped out. The other 3 are still going to go down to where those drones are. The drones are being evacuated pretty nicely. And he may be forced to detonate over here. No, he's going to try to go for more.
Oh, goes for the Queen, in fact. That's a big pickup considering I believe Solar is playing with a lower Queen count than DRG is. That might have reset him all the way down to 3. No, even down to 2. So Solar can't even fully inject all of his hatcheries after losing that Queen. He has to immediately rebuild that one. And now DRG is just getting ready to try and absorb the blow that Solar might throw his way after getting that damage done. He's pumping out a lot more Roaches.
Yeah, he's gotten ahead by a steady amount. It's about a 5-worker lead. He traded pretty effectively. I actually didn't think it was going to go as well as it did. So now the counterpunch needs to come here from Solar. He's now heading out. There's no counterattack set up here for DRG, so it's really going to come down to DRG and how he can wrestle with this next push that's coming out here with the Baneling and the couple Roaches.
Yeah, and DRG might have played this a little bit too greedy. He got those 5 worker kills and then made another round of 5 or 6 drones. So his worker lead, it is substantial, but that's a big army ready to knock down his doorstep. 18 Roaches in total. That's way more than DRG has in this moment as he's trying to hurriedly get these spine crawlers up. We'll see how this engagement goes. Those Banelings looking for connections on the Lings, not quite able to find them. Actually, a really nice arc here for DRG, buying himself time for those spines to get up at the 3rd base.
So these spines are going to finish, and these Roaches are going to be driven back. The Lings did run by. I think they're actually in the main right now. We don't have a shot of it, but I think he's trying to kill some drones.
Yeah, a couple of drones going down, you see right there. Only 3 in total, though, so DRG can absorb that damage, and that's a well-parried attack.
Yeah, I like that when the Banelings were up in the front, he just, DRG took his own Lings and just ran through to the bottom and kind of forced this weird situation that then created a really good concave for DRG there, where he came out ahead. So Solar, again, behind by quite a bit. I don't know if well, actually, he beat me to it. We are going to have a counterattack. I was about to say, I don't know if he's just going to take a 4th base and slow play it and try to wait for his opponent to take a 4th, but instead, he's going to continue to upgrade. He's got a push coming out.
Oh my God, Solar just made 10 more drones. He totally misread the situation. He doesn't realize that DRG is basically going all in with this one. I mean, he is droning behind it, but this is so many Roaches coming out to the 3rd base of Solar. ByuN getting dropped down. Nice split there by DRG, but there's only 1 Ravager, so it doesn't have to worry too much about it. There's only 1 Spine in production, too. That's it. GG. DRG with a surprise upset.
That was sick. Dude, I got to say, DRG played really well. It was kind of a masterclass in ZVZ overall, just with very good decision-making. It was a little bit sad to see Solar at the end with... Did you say he made 10 drones?
He made, I think, 10 drones right before that push. He just misread the situation, man.
So, I mean, I guess only making it easier there for a DRG, but I mean, what more is ZVZ than a balancing act of attacking units versus drones, right? So, bad call. Maybe Solar's Eye leaving the mini-map for a second, only to make that decision that would then cost him the game. Honestly, though, even if he made, 10 Roaches at that moment, I don't know if they would have hatched in time. I think DRG was pretty steadily ahead. So, DRG is going to go to the winner's match, and Solar will be in the loser's match. Nobody advancing, nobody eliminated just yet. Up next, Nightmare versus ByuN. You don't want to miss it. We'll be right back.
Believe it when I say it. It's about to get real, baby. Are you ready? 이뻐였어. 야 너무 야해. 바지 좀. 섹시하나요? 언니 전 이걸로 할게요. 너무 야하지 않아? 이게 아프리카 심해에 걸리는 거 아니야? 아니 그래서 다들 노출할 옷들이 좀 있으신 거예요? 나 2개 정도 골라놨거든요. 진짜? 나 이뻐였어. 야 너무 야해. 어머 예쁘다 안개마. 바지 좀. 섹시하나요? 바지가 저게 뭐야? 언니 전 이걸로 할게요. 너무 야하지 않아? 이거 입어도 되나? 모르겠다. 섹시한 거 가져왔어요.
이 의상의 포인트는 훤히 드러난 어깨, 몸의 실루엣이 드러나는 아주 이거 타이트하다고요. 이거 아주.
그 길거리에서 흔히 저 여자 섹시하다 했을 때 그 흰 티에 청바지? 그리고 약간 서련님 그 느낌을 제가 좀 이런 건가?
오늘 의상 컨셉은 섹시 큐티예요. 있는 거 다 보여주자. 딱 달라붙는 낫을 한번 준비를 했어요. 아마 갖춰져 있는 건 저니까 아마 제가 제일 섹시하지 않을까. 이런 붙는 옷을 입으면 또 얼마나 튀어나올까. 여러분들 조금 이따 기대 많이 해주세요.
Welcome back, everybody. We had a hasty 2-0 with DRG usurping Solar there. I mean, I think pretty much 100% of everybody watching would agree that Solar's the favorite to get out of this group.
Yeah.
But he's not going to get out first if he does. He's going to have to make it out in the final match if he even survives. DRG wins 2-0 with overall just better play, better planning. Props to the guy.
Yeah, remember at the start of the show, I was talking about how DRG doesn't feel as explosive anymore. That felt pretty explosive right there,
Yeah.
Tasteless. I ate my words.
That's
DRG manned up in that first match, and now he's going to go on to face the winner of this one, Nightmare versus ByuN. And if you stuck around at the very beginning for the group selection, all these guys had a lot to say to each other about how weak they are in this group. Nightmare, I still think this guy, I've been saying it for a couple seasons now, I think that he is criminally underrated. I think that it's basically inevitable that this online performance from Nightmare, especially in his recent form, is going to translate into success.
Look at this. You treated me like a delicious scapegoat.
Wait,
what
is
does
this?
that even mean?
You treated me like a delicious scapegoat,
a delicious
but you will be
scapegoat.
sorry for it.
This is all wrong. This literally doesn't make any sense at all. These are the ramblings of a syphilitic brain. This is crazy. What? That clearly didn't translate well. Okay.
By the way, I love how, like, I want to say about 50% of these little blurbs are always about Serral. It was either Solar or DRG in the very first match. I think it might have been DRG that says he wants to play half as well as Serral. Now ByuN's saying Serral's the GOAT. Oh, man. It's funny how one article series can just bring this to the forefront of, like,
That brought
everybody's mind.
That article nearly broke all of StarCraft. That is probably the most controversial thing that's ever happened. Probably one of the best moves Team Liquid ever did was to put that article up. They just need to become more polarizing. Haven't they learned from mainstream news?
Yeah, I was gonna say, you ever watch these professional sports news networks will put out tier lists of the best teams or the best players, and I feel like they almost always intentionally bungle it a little bit. All you gotta do is
put power rankings in there, and people will lose their minds.
Yeah, I'm not saying that this was ever the intention to try and make it a little bit artificial, but whenever those power rankings are obviously a little bit scuffed, it always gets way more interaction than it would otherwise. Anyway, guys, Nightmare versus ByuN. The game on Alcyone is loading up. Protoss versus Terran. The winner of this match going to go on to face DRG in the winner's match. Let's get it started.
Okay, Nightmare here in the top right. ByuN here in the bottom left. Excuse me, I just have this cough that won't go away.
You were sick last week, right?
Yeah, I was, but it's like I've just had this cough forever. From Sweden, go ByuN.
Look at that handwriting.
That's very good handwriting.
That looks like a computer font almost.
Yeah.
My handwriting's nowhere near as legible as that is. Look at this drawing, too.
I only type or use my phone, so when I have to get a pen and write something down, I'm like, what is this?
When you write Korean, how legible is it when you write out in Hangul?
Mine is pretty legible.
I feel like most foreigners that learn Korean write it like it's the text on an iPhone.
Yes.
It looks like a computer
Mine is
font.
like perfect hieroglyphics. Like
yeah,
exactly. No, when I write in Korean, it's very, very it's like girl handwriting. You know what I mean? It's very perfect.
The same thing.
But yeah, if I write with English letters, I'm in a hurry.
Mine looks like a serial killer. You ever look at like the graphics of like a serial killer in these documentaries, like these criminal investigative one where it's like they'll always bring the handwriting analyst out, where like all the letters are really jagged and sharp. It's like, this guy wants to kill someone with a knife. Like, that's me, man.
That's so funny. Yeah, but I guess if I'm writing in Korean, I'm like trying to spell it out perfectly, and you know, yeah, that's so funny. Although the truth is, my spelling in both English and Korean are just atrocious.
It's okay, we have autocorrect now.
Yeah.
Spelling like cursive is an artifact of the past.
Yes. That's probably actually why mine went downhill, is once I saw that we had a spell checker on the PC, I'm like, oh.
Yeah,
I guess I'm never going to learn how to spell any of these words.
Makes life a lot easier. Eventually, we're going to have an RTS come out with spell checking on the keyboard. It's like, are you sure you want to make a Reaper right now? You sure you don't want a Marauder?
Yeah.
You want a Marauder,
It'll
bro.
spell check me when I trash talk them.
You pressed R. I'm just going to assume that you pressed G.
So, this game, we've got Protoss going for a fast expand. It should be a pretty slow opening. It is going to be the Citadel coming after that with some Adepts here. Now, I don't think these guys are going to have a long game. ByuN specifically, I think, has the shortest games of Terran out of anybody in the GSL. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, that has to be true.
I don't have the numbers to back that up, but whenever I'm casting this game, I'm like, it's going to be explosive, and it's going to end one way or the other.
Oh, and it's a double Cyclone opening for ByuN. He opened gas first, and I was wondering what this was going to build up to, and it's going to be two really fast Cyclones, so nice opening here for Terran. Gets one probe kill with a Reaper. Hustles on out, and if that Adept is not careful, it too is going to die to these Cyclones. And actually a third CC here for ByuN. This is a cool build. Oh, no.
Oh, my God.
This is why we have recall. Protoss players really do have room temperature IQ. Artosis was right all wrong.
So funny. I mean, for a split second, I almost forgot about recall there. I mean, that was so funny.
It used to be you would have to. I used to do this sometimes, very rarely, as like a pro gamer when I was practicing before recall was like a thing on the Nexus, and I was like, well, I wasn't planning on building a warp prison, but this is now going to be a warp. This is now going to be a Robo build. I
got to
get my stalker out of there.
Yeah. Now my whole build has to change because of some weird small mistake I made earlier.
Yeah, well, a lot of damage being dished out by these two Cyclones.
I think he can kill the pylon here. Pylon.
Well, the stalker is going to complicate the math a little bit here for ByuN. Adept's doing a good job of tanking there in the front line, especially with the shield battery to heal them back up. So Pylon sustaining a little bit of damage, but will survive. It's going to be a 3-gate Robo opening here for Nightmare.
There's a third command center that's going to pop here.
Yeah, really quick.
It was kind of a cool build. He basically created an opportunity to maybe take the Pylon out. It didn't work out, but it doesn't matter anyways because he's going to have his third base up here. and probably start mining from that before the Protoss can take a third. For Nightmare, we don't have, you know, a big explosion at gateways. He's actually getting 2 more gases here, so he's going to go up to 4.
Yeah, the double gas is a little bit interesting to me.
Yeah,
because
I'm not sure what that is.
He's only playing 3 gateways right now. He hasn't thrown down any additional tech. I mean, you throw down 2 more gases. Are you going to go for Robotics Bay here? You don't have a forge. You're not getting upgrades. Where's the gas going to go? Because I think the way that a Protoss would typically play this in Korean TVT is you would maybe take 1 more gas and then the Nexus and then eventually start working your way up. And, you know, a max pack style would be just to stick on, what, 2 or 3 gas for a pretty long period of time. Make a ton of charge zealots and use that as the mineral dump and tech up with everything else. And it's going to be charge also for Nightmare. Could he possibly be going for Storm behind this? I mean, the double gas I just don't quite get. Okay, Templar Archives and 3 more gateways. It will be Storm.
Yeah, so it's going to be Storm.
Okay, that makes a little bit more sense than why you would want to start making that gas early, but that 3rd Nexus is so late.
Behind this, it's not any kind of mech build, even though we had a couple Cyclones made. For Terran, it's just going to be standard bio, very late stim, but totally safe to do. And yeah, I mean, the game is going to slow down again here. I don't think either side can really attack into each other, but well, I say that, but now actually there's some Stalkers coming across the map here. He might try to come in and do a little bit of blink harass, but until Zealot charge is done, I don't think he can do much more than that.
Yeah, the Observer spotted the 3rd command center there for ByuN, and so Nightmare just basically knows that he has a little bit of a window, or at least he suspects he has a little bit of a window to get something done here with these Stalkers, but unfortunately, ByuN's been macroing really well back at home, so this standing army is quite good. With Blink Micro, Nightmare will be able to finesse 1 Marine kill and a little bit of damage, but Medivac's soon going to be out to join the army, and then ByuN's army is going to be quite scary, Tasteless. I feel like if ByuN goes for some kind of timing push with these siege tanks and all of the bio that he's assembled over the course of this game, it might be hard to deal with, but I say that, and Nightmare's doing a good job of pitting him back with these Blink Stalkers right now. Getting a couple of picks here and there. 2 SCVs go down, kill some Marines. ByuN, even a little bit flustered, has 1 too many SCVs in his refinery at the moment. And we already have 4 Templar in a Prism. Storm about 75% done. He's going to try and meet ByuN here in the middle of the map.
Oh my god, I mean, this is kind of a weak position. I mean, he's a bit spread out. He's going to be able to take down that first Cyclone, and he's going to be able to get the tank in the back as well. Hold on.
Ooh. Will he, Tasteless? I don't think so.
Messing up my play-by-play. Saves the tank and is going to put that back there. Now, can he actually bust this?
He might be able to, man. I actually was overestimating how much army ByuN had assembled over the course of this game, because Nightmare's force here in the middle looking quite good, and this is 4 storms, in fact, in this War Prison. We're getting a Brood War-esque drop here in the main base with Zealots and Templar now coming in.
Yeah, and he hasn't really revealed the Templars yet. It's kind of pocketed. It's like up his sleeve, so to speak.
This could be so good here for Nightmare. Oh, I want him to ship it so hard. Just coming with his storms right now on the bio and the SCVs. Look at this storm drops on all of the bio. Templar, there's only a couple Marines right there. They should be able to escape. Recall's going to be off cooldown. 9 SCVs and a fair chunk of bio going down.
Beautifully done. A 4th base being taken. A 2nd Warp Prism being made. He may actually recall that 1 Warp Prism in the back.
Yeah, I think he will in a moment here. Double Forge starting here for Nightmare. He's been playing really low upgrade, just kind of focusing instead on getting all these gateways up in a relatively fast Storm and 4th base. And look how many Templar he has on the map. We were a little bit confused by that fast double gas even before the 3rd Nexus, but that's where all that gas is going. We have 7 Templar on the field currently, Tasteless.
So ByuN needs to try to come out and attack across the map. These Medivacs, by the way, no real energy to heal. Or I guess one of them has energy, but you get what I'm saying. Not looking too great. Nightmare can beat him actually over here in this part in the middle of the map. This kind of maze-like little part where the sensor tower is. Another Warp Prism is going to go across the map and probably try to do another big Zealot warp in. The Templars, though, are still pocketed inside this Warp Prism that's hovering over the army.
I love this double Prism play right now by Nightmare. Just want to drop Zealot to Storm here in the natural expansion. This is going to cause problems and troubles for ByuN.
Some troubles.
As he moves back to the natural expansion. In a moment of the game where it feels like ByuN kind of wants to meet Protoss in the middle, because Nightmare is getting really scary as the double Forge upgrades coming in. He's adding in a 2nd Robo. Colossus production has begun. He's already on 4 bases. ByuN, I think, is only just now starting that 4th command center between the natural and the 3rd expansion, so I'm a little worried for ByuN unless he has some kind of miracle engagement. Now, catching this Warp Prism with 4 Zealots is a nice one to start things out, but unless he has a really good fight here in the middle, I'm getting afraid that Nightmare might just start running away with this thing, man.
Yeah, ByuN's going to be moving out, and, well, hold on. He's actually backing up again. I don't know if he's aware of this army over here. I think he just now spotted it.
Yeah, he just took Xel'Naga control.
And, I mean, is there a way to counterattack over here? I'm not so sure. You know, the question is also going to come down to how many Templars does he have ready to try to storm this? This actually might not connect at all.
It's just barely out of range.
Oh, that's so good. He takes out the sensor tower and leaves just enough Zealots that the Terran has to respect it and come back and try to clean this up.
Yeah, and this is going to buy time for 1-1 to finish and Thermal Lance very soon. 2-2 already begun here for Nightmare as he takes another expansion at 12 o'clock.
5 bases to, I guess, a newly minted 4th base over here on the side. But there's going to be a counterattack. I mean, ByuN has this army plopped in the middle of the map, but I don't know if it's going to be able to do that much. It seems like already Nightmare is circumventing this position.
Yeah, it feels like... Oh, hold that thought, actually, Tasteless. We have a fight coming in right now. Oh, that Templar Archives War Prism solo on HP. It's able to evacuate all the Templar high in energy. We'll see if the EMPs are able to connect. The Templar quite bunched up. 1 EMP connects, so only 1 Storm is going to drop. Colossus getting some good hits there on the top side, but ByuN is getting the engagement he needed, Tasteless. Nightmare's army a little bit disjointed. What a big win here for ByuN in the middle of the map.
I think that ByuN can keep pushing forward here. He's taken out the Templars, he's taken out the Colossi. That leaves just Zealots and Stalkers, and we all know that if you just get enough Marine Marauder, you can always beat Zealot Stalker over time. 2 Colossi are queued up, but they're less than halfway done. I think there's a real opportunity for ByuN to keep pushing here.
The big problem for ByuN, though, is he doesn't have the medevac energy to actually sustain that push. Most of his air units got taken out in that fight. It's only 2 medevacs and 1 Viking on the field right now. His bio cannot heal.
Very drained.
This means that Nightmare is going to have the time to get at least 2 more Colossus out. 2-2 is going to finish, and the 4 new Templar that he warped in back at the 3rd base, they're going to be back on energy. He's going to have 4 more Storms, and I doubt he's going to make the same mistake he did last time with all his Templar getting clumped up. Instead, 1 EMP only connects with 1 Templar. And Nightmare now doing a good job of zoning the Terran away, but still with just these 2 medevacs, I mean, the bio from the previous fight hasn't even fully healed, and Nightmare's going to try and take advantage of that coming in for this engagement.
Yeah, it looks like Nightmare's going to drive him back again. It's still a pretty powerful 4-base ByuN, who is now maxed out. He's looking for an opportunity to try to attack him, but it has given Nightmare enough time to muster the kind of army that should be able to deal with this.
Yeah, and because ByuN was solo on the medevac counts, all of his starport production has just been going back into medevacs. He's gone from 2 up all the way into 10, but that means he doesn't really have any Vikings to deal with the Colossus. He has to win this battle without really just taking them out with the Vikings. It has to be the pure meat of the bio and the Ghost. So instead, ByuN's going to try and leverage that advantage with the supply. He has a lot of bio and medevacs to play with. Going to go for a 4 medevac drop here at this base. Medevac's a little bit too high, too low in energy.
Okay, it looks like he was just not over the screen for a second. He's going to go right into the main. And this should dislodge what was originally a pretty safe position here for Nightmare. I love the small counterattack with a few Zealots taking out the workers. Meanwhile, infrastructure getting obliterated here in the main.
Yeah, a lot of these forces for Nightmare are going to have to retreat back into the main base. This might open up an opportunity for ByuN to attack at the 3rd or at the 4th, but for now he's just content to take this damage here in the middle, take this fight, and just maintain his position in the center of the map. But here for Nightmare, I'm not sure. Oh no, watch out with those Colossus, man. Oh, the pathing, it's brutal. 1 Colossus goes down, the Martyr is going to connect with the 2nd one on the left side. The shield battery overcharge barely saving it for now as the reinforcements for the main base struggling to get back here, and finally Nightmare is able to converge his armies again. War Prism gets taken out. Really good control from ByuN.
Honestly, a really good game so far. Wait, what?
What? Did
There's
the Zealots
no
take
way.
that thing out? It's an MMA moment.
I can't believe it.
That's
that actually
insane.
just might cost ByuN the whole game.
Command centers can fly tasteless. That's not supposed to happen.
We try to think of all the possible things that could happen in a game.
It's fine. He has 3 more.
Yeah, well, I mean, he could throw it back on there, but that's really, for me, like out of the realm of possible things in a pro match. It's like, you know, 1 or 2 Zealots killing a floatable building.
The fact that he has 3 more command centers outside the 4th base and then another command center, not even orbital, floating in from the main is just so funny to me. Though,
Yeah.
He loses the third, but he has so many backup. My God. Well, ByuN gonna now expand his reach into the top left side of the map as it quiets down a little bit. These armies once again pushing here in the middle. I'm getting concerned here for Nightmare. He's taken fight after fight after fight with the same composition here against ByuN, and it feels like he is never getting the better end of a trade. Now that ByuN has, you know, all of the medevacs that he needs, all of the Vikings that he needs, although he has depopped that a little bit after the last engagement, he is rebuilding them now. And Nightmare's not really going for any transition. He's just sticking with his composition. A player like Stats in this position would potentially be going for carriers with a mothership.
You know, the longer this game goes on, the worse I feel like it does get for Terran. I always feel like Terran fundamentally can't get out of their quadrant of the map. I mean, I know Maru's kind of broken that rule in TVZ, but I'm starting to feel like it's going to be hard for ByuN to hold these bases that are kind of dangling on the outside of his perimeter.
It might be. It's hard to say, especially given the way that Nightmare is playing with this kind of like beast mode Protoss with 30 Zealots and 15 Stalkers, just absolutely leaning heavily into the ground army here with no air transition in sight. It can be difficult for ByuN to hold on to these auxiliary expansions, but at the same time, I feel like the standing army here for Terran, if ByuN takes the right engagement, should beat Protoss. There's only 6 Templar. A lot of those can get EMP'd by the Ghosts. Templars are also spread across multiple bases because Nightmare needs to defend all these different fronts. And besides that, the only splash damage on the map is these 2 Colossi. There's no Disruptors in the mix. We don't have any carrier transitions coming through. And ByuN's army's looking really good. Oh, man, he catches the Colossus like this as well. One of them immediately getting taken out.
Yeah, one Colossus is popped. The Storm is pretty nasty, chunking out a good amount of damage. And, you know, from here, I just don't know if the... Oh, my God. What is it about 2 Zealots and just wrecking ByuN?
I almost feel like ByuN should have just rebuilt a planetary here at the
Yeah,
third
right.
base.
It's kind of like a hot fix for that issue that he's having. There's going to be so much damage coming down here that there's no way that these SCVs could save that. ByuN doesn't go back to defend either. He's going to do a counterattack of his own.
Yeah, ByuN is going pedal to the metal right now, attacking into the third base. Nice EMP right there on those Stalkers, going to force them to come back. The Storm is pretty clutch, though. Not full AoE, but does get a lot of sustained damage. Just more Zealots coming in. I feel like I'm almost watching Max Packs right now with these Zealot run-bys. They are just relentless here from Nightmare.
It's pretty crazy.
And I think ByuN might have made the wrong call going for what looked like it might have been almost an attempt at a base trade, because he's now once again getting unseated from the third base. He's mining only effectively from the 4th expansion, whereas Nightmare really sustained no damage on his side of the map. He's got a huge bank of almost 6K resources in reserves right now, and Nightmare can take a bad engagement and still remax on an army that can beat what ByuN has, because ByuN's almost out of minerals. He's not even maxed.
Right. Gosh, this position here is really something that Terran can take advantage of. I mean, I know we all knew that here, but it's being especially illustrated in this game. It's just like, how are you going to get into that little group of cavity, like little maze, I don't know, these little small alleyways? It's hard to get any kind of Zealot engagement down there. I love the counterattacks, by the way. I mean, between this and if he could just take out that 4th base, I think he's going to have enough. By the way, Nightmare has grown to an absurd level.
He can lose this army and then rebuild an equivalent-sized army very easily.
Yeah.
This engagement coming in, Vikings. Oh, I thought they were going to go for the Warp Prison for a moment, but instead ByuN retreating back to the safety of the tower. But there's a lot of pressure on ByuN to end this game quickly, I think. I mean, the 2 paths for ByuN is either try and kill Nightmare right now with one decisive fight and do not let him remax with Storm. Just try to push it all the way into the production. Or do the Maru-esque move and try and slowly bleed it out.
And the thing is
and
that
just play defensively, but I don't even know if either option is really viable at this point. Nightmare is just so big.
Yeah, now this is a very awkward angle for the Protoss. You really can't quite get through there. Look, Terran takes out a base. That's obviously always going to be good, but I mean, there's so much more that Nightmare has at this point in time on the map to get these side storms off. Oh, nice EMP.
Yeah, very good EMPs there by ByuN. Templar coming in from both sides right there, but still, the Benevacs are so low on energy. The standing army for Nightmare is not that strong. I would wish we could get a shot of the gateway count right now here for Nightmare, because I want to know what his remax capability is. We know he has at least 2 robos, but the standing army for ByuN is double the supply of Nightmare's right now. Nightmare has this huge bank, but can he actually remax in time? Oh, that's a lot of Stalkers. maybe 12 gateways in total, if not more.
Oh, man.
27 Stalkers? How often do you see just pure Blink Stalker Remax here for Protoss against Terra? This is insane.
So he gets the kills. I mean, gosh, only one medevac. I think that's just 4 Marauders in there running away. The issue for ByuN is that the counterpunch should almost always be devastating from Nightmare. I mean, there's just not a lot to work with on this side of the map, right? So, like, if he could take out either of these command centers, it's going to be huge.
I mean, the army supplies are still relatively equal. Just the fact that Nightmare has so much more bank, but what a good storm right there on the Xel'Naga Tower. Gets a lot of damage on the Marines and Marauders. But the standing army here for Nightmare, besides the storm, doesn't do too much. He needs these Zealots to come into the front line to assist those Stalkers who are getting really shelled by the Marauders. But again, with this economy here from Nightmare, he's on 78 probes. I don't even know how many bases. He has the economy to just not even take the best fights. He can take almost throwaway fights because he knows that all he has to do is shut down one expansion from ByuN and basically win the game.
Another attack is going to come down here. So many mules over in this position. He's going to fork. Oh, nice storms there too. Yeah, he's going to fraction off just some of those Zealots to do some damage to make this base unworkable, unmanageable. And you can see, you know, the patience really exhibited here by Nightmare. He's never really overcommitting. And I mean, from here, I think that with ByuN being as small as he is, this game's probably going to end. It might not end this second, but I think it's kind of obvious, you know, where this game has gone to.
Yeah, ByuN is on a very low worker count right now. The army here for Nightmare, 12 Templar with a ton of gateways and still even more money in the bank. He's max with 4K left over. ByuN sitting 134 supply, and now Nightmare's going to come in, blinks forward, going for the starport units as the Zealots begin to shred the bio here in the front line with a Warp Prism. Nightmare should be able to get some drops. Him just taunting basically with a micro there on the Prism. The storms finally come in.
Dude, that was a great engage. And I mean, you could just see the army so thinned out. That's it, GG. Nightmare takes game 1 in an extremely commanding performance. I mean, from A to Z, he looked so good.
Yeah, I was a little bit concerned for him there in the mid game because it felt like ByuN's army was just a little bit better once both players maxed. But Nightmare was just able to stay a step ahead constantly with the expansions, and plus the Zealot run by is there at the triangle third for ByuN were just non-stop from, like, I don't even know what minute, but it was like 5 to 10 minutes of run bys coming in. It was like watching Max Packs play.
Yeah.
And ByuN never really had a good answer for it. He kept having to get pulled back whenever he had opportunities to get damage done. He wasn't really able to capitalize on them because of the counterattacks.
Yeah,
there was no bunker there at the third. He even lost a command center at one point.
Well, that was the craziest part of that whole game. I mean, I think that you have to make sure that you don't just have your whole army on a hotkey moving around. You have to have some stuff back there to try to deal with the few Zealots. Otherwise, you will just get punished and Protoss will outgrow you. We're going to be going to Oceanborn here for map number 2. Right now, Nightmare with a 1-0 lead in this best of 3. Remember that the winner will go on to face off against DRG in the match that comes right after this best of 3, and the loser will face Solar. So you really want to try to win here and get ahead, because the favorite of the group right now is in the losers match.
Let's get ready to rumble, rumble. Let's get ready to rumble. You looking for trouble? Let's get ready to rumble, rumble. Let's get ready to rumble. Tell them it's going down now. Let's.
Okay, so we've got Nightmare in the bottom right, ByuN in the top left. It did seem like ByuN, by the way, that game way longer than I thought it was going to be totally honest. I was not expecting that. Some ByuN support here with Flames.
Yeah, a lot of ByuN support. Always one of the fan favorites here at the GSL.
Well, I think ByuN's a very charismatic guy. Even if you don't speak Korean, I think that kind of comes across. And a very emotional player, which in my experience of just casting and doing these tournaments, the emotional players always seem to just get a special kind of fandom.
I think everyone can see a little bit of themselves in those players.
Absolutely. Welcome
from
New Zealand.
That's a long journey.
That is so far away. From Chile, welcome, welcome. That's also a long trip. I don't think there are direct flights from Asia to South America. I think you have to go through.
Oh, really?
I think you got to go through. I don't know. I should check that.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't
Earth is a big place.
I just make things up. It sounds smart. No, but that's
actually
a long
have to
trip.
take a boat to get from Chile to South Korea. That's a 2-week-long journey.
It's a long, long trip. So
Oh, look at this opening, by the way, from Nightmare.
Yeah.
Maybe he's trying to metagame ByuN a little bit here. No, he cancels the Zealot. I was wondering if he was going to let that finish. Harstom always hates the Zealot. The first gateway, he despises that move, but I was wondering maybe.
Well, I think it's one of these things where you could start it, and if nothing crazy's happening, then you just cancel it.
I was wondering if there was something special Nightmare was cooking because ByuN is so keen on always going gas first.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like he does it more than almost anybody else in TVP, at least in Korea. I was wondering, you know, maybe Nightmare has a special build just specifically to snipe it, go for an early Zealot, and then maybe proxy some tech, but no, it's just instead going to be cancel Zealot, Chrono Boosted Adept, fast expansion. It's about the normal way you would expect to develop here for Protoss and PBT.
So, for a second, I forgot what I was going to say.
By the way,
but
just, Nightmare rallying so carefully the gateway.
I
so
saw
he
that.
doesn't get the
He's like,
event
I'm not
stuck
letting this
again.
get trapped in here again. No way. So, yeah, last game went way longer than I thought. ByuN's games are usually quite short, but I think a lot of it was just Nightmare kind of sustaining through the game. Kind of, you know, going head-to-head versus ByuN and maintaining that lead and looking good. By the way, 2 Cyclones again here. So, I mean, both these games so far are identical, at least for early game, minus the Adept getting trapped.
Yeah, I think almost the exact same builds for both sides. Third command center coming down too. ByuN is going for the exact same opening, so clearly feels like it can go better than previously. By the way, great movement there by Nightmare with the Adept. One of the best feelings in PBT is when you finally kill that first Reaper. I feel like whenever I play the game, I never rest easy until the Reaper is dead.
You
I
have
could
this
be,
like sigh of relief, like, all right, it's gone.
I could be 5 or 6 minutes into the game and still be thinking about that goddamn Reaper.
Like, where is it?
Stays
It's going to come in
alive.
here.
Yeah, well, this Cyclone, or these Cyclones, definitely going to take out that Adept. But Nightmare might have an inkling that this is going to be the same build again, coming out from ByuN.
So, yeah, I mean, look, this game is starting out the same way. I don't know if we're going to end up in the same spot, but I'm curious here.
I think Nightmare might be going Robo a little bit faster than previously. He's skipping the third gateway, right?
I don't
going
see
into
it.
fast double gas.
But I feel like those 2 other gates are going to have to come pretty soon here.
You would think so, but with this gas timing, I'm a little bit confused. This might just be a really greedy 2-gate expand with a Robo. Huh. And oftentimes you watch players in Europe play PBT, and they will usually and oftentimes correctly model their gameplay off of somebody like Max Pax because he's just so good at the matchup, right?
Right.
You'll see a lot of 4-gate blink play into a third expansion or with the third expansion behind it. And Korea usually see 3-gate blink, but 2-gate blink like this with very fast 4-gas here for Nightmare makes me think that he's going to tech quite quickly. And again, it might be Charge and Templar just a little bit more greedy this time. Okay. I wonder if this is him adjusting from game number 1 into game number 2 because he saw the 2 Cyclones, he saw the same Reaper timing, a gas first Reaper opening.
Right.
He might feel like he can get away with a little bit more greed against ByuN. He would be correct. It is that same third command center opening. And yeah, there's the Templar Archive. So basically mirrored builds. Nightmare being a little bit more greedy than he was in the previous game.
These are the kind of builds where it's like, you're not really trying to, like, at least from Nightmare, you're not really trying to, like, win the game in some kind of special way or exploit some kind of weakness that the Terran, you know, isn't going to be ready for because they're not finished getting all their building blocks set up. They don't have all their ducks in a row. This is just like a solid kind of macro style where you're going to have, you know, the Templars to blink and finesse situations, the Zealots to charge in and soak, and then you're going to have the Templars to really do the big damage in the kind of beefy, chunky areas of the Terran army.
Yeah, it feels almost like an old school PBT style, something that Parting would have done in his heyday.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm like, what was that map, like Antigua's Shipyard?
Oh, yeah, Antigua's Shipyard, yeah. We're going to get your boats ready. Yeah. I love the blink in. Big punish there on the Cyclone. He's going to manage to get both and probably blink out without losing too much.
2 Stalkers probably going to go down. It's a pretty even trade right there for Nightmare.
Yeah, even gets a kill on that Marine, but totally worth it. 2 Stalkers or 2 Cyclones is fine. And ByuN is just going to keep building up. So, I mean, this is really going to come down to execution here in the middle of the map and control and everything like that. The 4 Templars are out. It did seem like this was a pretty big trend in ASL 2, maybe 2.5 years ago, and it does seem like it carried over to StarCraft 2. Yeah. Sometimes trends in GSL pick up in ASL, or trends in GSL or ASL, they go back and forth, basically.
Did Nightmare actually? I think he actually saw it.
Yeah,
Look, oh, he's moving his army. This could be game-ending if Nightmare catches this. That is 15 supply of bio in those, or wait, what is it? 19 supply of bio in those 2 medevacs. Almost completely full. If he catches these medevacs, ByuN is in so much trouble if he doesn't react instantly to this. He has to boost and get away because these Stalkers, okay, that's fast enough. That is fast enough. You can tell how bad Nightmare wanted it. You can tell how bad. That's the kind of moment as Nightmare, you know you kill those medevacs, the game is basically done.
Did he get a feedback? I guess he had to have
feedback,
gotten a
a storm, and the Stalker blink. Nightmare tried to catch him, could not do it. Oh,
my
man.
God.
If ByuN reacted any slower, he's basically dead. I mean, that is... It might not feel like that, but at this level of play, that can be game-ending. Because that is all your tempo gone as Terran. And now Nightmare going to try and come up this ramp. Oh, he has these storms. Great storms on the bio. Oh, my goodness, the connections right there. These medevacs, it wasn't a lot of kills. Maybe 4 or 5 Marines went down, but these medevacs are going to be so low on energy tasteless in the next couple of minutes. And you even see an adjustment here by ByuN. That's a much faster Ghost Academy than we saw in the previous game, too. So both players kind of adapting as the series goes on. Nightmare also doing what feels like a little bit more of a rapid transition into double Robo Colossus. So the adjustments of both sides coming through. ByuN did a good job of absorbing that impact without taking too much damage, but I'm still really liking Nightmare's position. If he's able to safely take this 4th base, I think he has a good shot, but the main concern I have for him is these Templar that he has, very low on energy. He had that feedback, that early storm on the first medevac drop, and then used a ton of energy trying to storm in that first fight. He maybe has 2 or 3 left in the bank in terms of energy, and that could be enough just to kind of sequester ByuN away. Because right now for Nightmare, when you're going for this double Robo Colossus transition before Thermal Lance is done, it's one of the scarier moments in the game. But
yeah, it's one of the building blocks you need to have to be healthy and safe in a later game. And until you have it, it's very tough. You're not going to trade effectively. If Terran can dodge your storms, you basically lose your entire army.
Yeah, but the way that Nightmare is playing this was such a low Stalker count. Only 6 Stalkers. I don't even think he really lost that many. I feel like he just kind of capped it at 6.
He's just not making more. And I feel like normally we see, I don't know, maybe 10 or 15 or something like that. Usually
like around a dozen or so, I would say.
Yeah, and so, yeah, it is interesting he's doing that. By the way, I love the setup here. The Templars kind of spread out, ready to feedback or storm or, whatever he can do with it.
I love how he sees the scan. He's like, okay, I got to make the play right now with these Templar. But the fact that Nightmare is going so low on the Stalker count means that his army is a lot meatier than it otherwise would be. The Robos are faster. He's got more Templar faster than he otherwise would because of the gas investment, and the Stalker count was so low. And also his army supply, in a situation that's almost a role reversal in PBT, has basically been higher than ByuN's almost the entire game.
Yeah.
Which is not usually what you see. I mean, look at how many Zealots this is. That is so many Zealots.
He's basically ready for a fight now.
30 Zealots this early is insane, even after that first skirmish.
He's going to load up these Templars and probably move out. He's getting a few more Stalkers. He actually just got one Immortal that popped out. I don't know if that's going to meet up with the rest of the group. But basically this is really when it's Protoss's turn to really try to do damage. He's going to push in here. A lot of this infantry starting to get shaved off. Really good engagement here by Nightmare.
Yeah, ByuN's army was completely split in half right there, and Nightmare was able to isolate on the top side and get a ton of damage done. And now even these Zealots coming into the natural expansion is going to open up this attack over here on the 3rd base. The command center lives off, but Nightmare's Stalker count has grown to 16.
EMP on one of the Templars, but there's still plenty more storms to go.
I love these storms just trying to push back the Terran Bio Ball. Running a little bit low on energy right now. 2 storms left, I think, in total on that.
You know what's crazy? He actually didn't kill that command center off.
Yeah.
I just assumed it was dead, but I could see it floating away on the minimap. But you know what? Mission accomplished there for Nightmare. I think he basically got the job done. We're going to have another engagement in here. Let's see if the Ghost can maybe get an EMP on some of these Templars. They're kind of bunched up in the back.
Man, Nightmare's been so good with his Stalker control over the course of this entire series, just picking off Starport unit after Starport unit. If you can control the Starport unit production and the count on a Terran player, it makes PBT so much harder for the Terran.
So there's no energy on these medevacs, by the way. Like, stimming is almost just taking damage sometimes here with this. Yeah, the push continues on.
The medevac count is getting so low. Stalker's blinking forward. Nightmare might just be able to push this one to the win. He has one more Storm here with a Templar. It's a very good one. Getting all of the bio. This Immortal also doing so much work on the Marauder heavy composition here of ByuN. And Nightmare with one more warp in could potentially go for a killing blow behind it. He's even taking a 5th base tasteless.
I mean, that was a beautiful engage. He's just going to be lifted off again. He's like, nope, I cannot have that there.
ByuN is basically on death's door. Nightmare has almost a 3K resource bank. He's getting +3 ground weapons. He's starting on his shield upgrades already. 4 more gateways in production.
Nightmare's playing a perfect PvT, honestly.
I'm telling you, man, he is getting so good. ByuN is one of the better Terrans that we have in Korea. Maybe the top 3 Terran or top 4 Terran.
And also keep in mind, Nightmare's winning with like control versus ByuN of all people.
It's like a hero game almost, the way that he's microing these units. It's so refined, especially the Templar control in the early game, just the splits that he's setting up, the drops he's going for, and the way he's maneuvering across the map. It's beautiful to see him really kind of come into his own right now in this first match against ByuN. And the patience he's exerting too. I mean, he knows he's in a position where he's on 5 bases against 4. ByuN only just now is retaking the 4th base, and Nightmare's like, I know you're re-expanding there. I'm going to send these charge zealots. I'm going to zone you away with my main army here outside your 3rd base and take this fight. And it looks like it's even, but keep in mind, the economy here for Nightmare is so much greater than Terran's. He doesn't need the most cost-efficient trades, and he's already unseated the 4th base again. 11 SCVs went down. Those freshly dropped mules got basically no mining done, and you can see ByuN's supply just completely plummet as a result.
Yeah, and look, ByuN's not dead. He is still fighting back, but I just feel like we're going to see Nightmare go back, warp in another set of units. It's going to be the same comp. He doesn't have to do anything more complicated than the time before, and just rinse and repeat. He's going to get those 4 Templars, the Warp Prism, and then it's going to be Colossi, Zealots, and Stalkers, and probably just come in and hammer 12 o'clock. If he can just keep 12 o'clock being destroyed over and over, the game will eventually end up as a Protoss victory. And by the way, we're not really remarking on it, but ByuN has so much of the map over in the bottom right that's going to eventually bleed into the corners over here. And then another, okay, there it is, GG. I was like trying, I'm like, oh, I think it's going to end. I got to try to play-by-play it. Yo, Nightmare with a great game. Kind of a weird day, State. It's like DRG wins versus Solar, and then Nightmare beats ByuN. A lot of upsets happening.
Tony, man, Nightmare is getting really, really good. He is taking names in the online cups, and you can see right now that is starting to translate into offline success. That was an impeccable series against maybe a top 5 Terran in all of Asia, and ByuN just kind of looked
bewildered. You know, the face kind of says it all. You know, it's like, well, I don't know. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Nightmare played very well. There wasn't, you know, sometimes players will call bullshit on a game, like, you know, something silly happened. Like, let's say those 2 medevacs were picked off, right? No, it was just Nightmare again and again with great engages, good decision-making, knowing when to attack in, but also knowing when to pull back out. Guys, short little break, and coming up next is Nightmare versus DRG. We'll be right back.
I'm on fire, I can't stop. I'm on fire, warm hot, turn me up a notch. 600 degrees, got me burning up the spot. Fresh about the pot, get it till I got. Make a fifth flame. I'm on fire, I can't stop. I'm on fire, I can't stop. I'm on fire, I can't. South Beach, make them feel the heat. I can tell you fake before you even speak. I'm just heating up, you hit your peak. We not neck and neck, even in my sleep. He said start a ride, I'ma start a fire. Sweet scent of the smoke make me come alive. If you see them by my side, then they bona fide. And you can feel the heat, we don't notify. When we come, pick a side, tell them that you down to ride. It's a fire, everything is lit, lighting up the sky. In the air, long way to the ground. Better hope you fly, like the time. Only get it once before it pass you by. Oh, they know we near. It's getting hot up in here. You know it getting heated at the top. I'm on fire, I can't stop. I'm on fire, warm hot, turn me up a notch. 600 degrees, got me burning up the spot. Fresh about the pot, get it
Fading lights coming down, so we give it a good run. Feel the night, all the sounds. Dance with me until we see the sun. 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 Fading lights coming down, so we give it a good run. Feel the night, all the sounds. Dance with me until we see the sun. Fading lights coming down, so we give it a good run. Feel the night, all the sounds. Dance with me until we see the sun. Dance with me until we see the sun. I just want to be enough for you, yeah. But it's just too much, I'm being rude, yeah. Think about it. take the step for you. You know I like you, baby. You know I want you to take the control. Alright, baby. Alright, alright. You know I like you, baby. You know I want you to take the control. Alright, baby. Alright, baby.
Let's go.
Welcome back. Welcome back, everybody. Sorry, guys, talking's hard, apparently. Welcome back. Excuse me. Coming up next, Nightmare versus DRG. Both these guys upsetting, big upsets here to get here. DRG defeats Solar 2-0. Nightmare defeats ByuN 2-0.
Yeah, I'm especially surprised by DRG's games against Solar. In both of his matches, he found some early advantage with clever tactics and was just able to kind of ride it to a victory. Game number 1, it was with that very cheeky early build. It was 13 gas, 12 pools, something like that. Was able to delay the hatchery a ton. And then it's a very technical follow-up. Was able to deliver a win. I wonder if we're going to see something like that here against Nightmare. If he's going to try and play kind of a similar style where he looks to get some kind of early edge and then carry that into a victory, because it worked so well for him in the other matchup. But we'll see. I know a lot of Zerg players recently have been quite unhappy with ZPP from what I've seen.
Yeah.
Maybe I've been talking to too many Europeans. That's the sense that I get. And so I wonder whether DRG is going to be kind of following the same mindset where he kind of has to go for either the super late game or go for an early bust. You can't really compete in the mid game.
Yeah, let's see, man. I wouldn't be surprised. DRG's always kind of played like that on some level. Nightmare,
Yeah.
I feel like it's a little bit harder for me to pin him down on his PvZ playstyle. But we're going to find out in a second here, guys. Game 1 is ready. Okay, so we've got Nightmare here in the top right, and DRG in the top left.
13 pylon scout here for Nightmare, so he should be able to get this hatch block off.
It's exciting to see how well Nightmare is playing.
Yeah, he looked so good in that first series.
I know we have people that discover the GSL at different times. We've had people that have been following StarCraft before StarCraft 2, people that came in, right at the immersion of StarCraft 2 or Heart of the Swarm. There are people that are still picking it up and following GSL now. I get tweets, sometimes once a week of people just kind of discovering this. But Nightmare has always been in the background. The reason why I'm bringing this whole thing up is that, some players have been dominant forces for the whole time. You get a player like DRG, he was on top of the world during Heart of the Swarm. And he's looked like he's been kind of getting back there as of late. But Nightmare, on the other hand, he's always been very, as on the periphery of GSL as he could be compared to other players like Gumiho or, Maru. So it's exciting to see that he's really able to hang with the very best. I'm really curious to see how he's going to perform here now, because looking at his game back there versus ByuN, I don't feel like Nightmare looked bad in any respect.
Yeah, game 1, the micro was a little bit shaky in the mid game, but besides that, I can't really think of anything to nitpick about from his play. And against somebody as good as ByuN, I mean, when you're playing at this kind of level, you're expecting you're expected almost to make mistakes because the opponent is so good, they're going to force errors out of you. They're going to tax your multitasking. They're going to be attacking you different spots at once. The engagements will be really hard to pull off successfully. And so the fact that Nightmare was able to navigate both Game 1 and Game 2 as well as he did against a player of ByuN's caliber,
right,
tells a lot about his offline form right now. And this is a guy, Nightmare that is, who has been just absolutely wrecking people in the online cup. So the point where I think in some rankings, they're putting him behind Hero as like the #2 best Protoss player in Korea just because the online performance is so strong.
Yeah.
For Nightmare. And so far he's been able to deliver against ByuN. That was a really convincing 2-0 victory. And now here against DRG. We'll have to see exactly how this shakes up, but I'm right there with you, man. He's been on the periphery. I feel like Nightmare has kind of had maybe the most incremental rise of any player I can think of in GSL.
I think so, yeah.
For a long time, it felt like he was kind of struggling to qualify for Code S, and then once he got there, he was always around a 16 guy. Even up until last season, he's just always been around a 16 guy. Maybe gets 12th place by 3rd place in his group, but doesn't make it to the playoffs. I feel like that's going to change. I really do. I'm high on this guy.
Well, it's really exciting because I think that, especially, I mean, this even happens to me, by the way, is that you get used to competitive StarCraft as the few players that you always see, you know, whether it's in Korea or outside of Korea, right? And then it's easy to forget that, like, actually, no, there's a ton of people that are trying to get good that we don't ever see, right? People that have tried to qualify for every single GSL that don't get in. And sometimes, you know, they do emerge later on. I mean, a good example of this would be Percival, right? Or Xiao as another example. Like, I remember the first time that he showed up, I'm like, oh my God, it's like a new player. These guys pop up. And some of these guys, they kind of go in and out, in and out. And so when you start to see one of these guys that's fairly newer compared to these people that have been around for like the first few years at GSL, it's really exciting.
Yeah, it's always a lot of fun. By the way, we have DRG going for Banelings on 41 drones.
Yeah.
And Nightmare going for a 3rd base with Glaives off of 4 gateways. And I'm not sure exactly how this is going to play out, but DRG is going to have, I think, way more Lings at a moment here than Nightmare is perhaps expecting. It could just be that DRG is able to completely trounce this army in the very middle of the map and ride that momentum, but we'll have to see. If the Banelings get good connections on these Adepts, it is hard for Protoss, but on paper, the Glaives should do quite well against the Ling flood DRG is going for if they get the right engagement. Are these Shades going to see?
No, I think they're going to miss it. He's doing a good job of just showing the Lings too.
Yeah, he does not want Nightmare to know exactly what he's cooking.
Could he shade in one more time and check where the Banes are? Keep in mind, Banes, they can't really run away from Shades very easily. They're not that fast.
Immortals in production right now for Nightmare. That is not what he needs. Okay, Lings get this round on the Adepts. That's going to allow the Banelings to connect with all of them.
Oh my God.
What a victory there for DRG. And Nightmare with 3 more gateways in production. He's going to do a round warp in here of Adepts, but that is not going to be enough, I think, to hold on to this 3rd base. This is a really dangerous proposition if more Banelings morph in.
A Roach Warren has started.
Oh, actually, hold that thought, Tasteless. DRG, he's not really committing to this too much.
I thought he was going to attack in. I'm a little bit surprised.
Yeah, I thought he was going to go for at least the kill on the 3rd base.
I was on the exact same page as you. I was like, okay, he's going to come in and hit hard.
Yeah, but he's been droning up so much behind this. He just did a 2nd round of drones, 9 more in production, about to hit 60. Taking gases at the natural expansion, adding in a Roach Warren. Huh, kind of a surprising move there for DRG, but I guess it kind of follows the vein of playstyle that he's been going for, at least against Solar in the ZVZ, where he got that first opening salvo off, secured some small advantage, and then kind of rode that into the mid-game. This might be DRG trying to do the same thing, because Nightmare, he did get the 3rd base up quickly, but it was behind 4-gate Glaive Adepts, which literally got nothing done, and traded out horribly with a Ling Bane. So DRG definitely ahead in this position.
Yeah, DRG playing a very clean game. It's interesting to see him pull out like that, though, after getting that big connect there with the Banelings being like, actually, no, I'm just going to go ahead and get even further ahead here and not risk, you know, diving too deep and letting it backfire. Now, there's going to be a push coming out here. It's an Immortal inside the Warp Prism and a lot of Adepts. Even though we saw a lot of Adepts picked off, I don't know if DRG is going to necessarily be ready for this.
Yeah, there's only 2 Banelings. He has been droning very heavily behind this, all the way up at 65 while taking that 4th base. And With all these glaive adepts, there is a big opportunity for Nightmare to get damage done on DRG's side of the map, but DRG might be able to force something of a recall here as this third base taking a lot of damage. Shield battery gets taken out. Stalkers are warping in over there.
Yeah, no way to shade in just yet. The hatchery, it looks like he's going to commit to letting this finish. Oh, well, maybe he'll... Okay, no, he's going to try to defend this here. He's got queens coming down. It's getting pretty low. Could he possibly get this pick off? I think he will.
Oh, yeah, the transfuses come through, but they are not enough, and the Adepts are just able to shade away. Now, DRG did go for 5 Banelings to morph in here on the right side. Going to try and get some damage over here at the third base. Is Nightmare looking? He is. Instant reaction there for Nightmare. Even cancels the battery to save those extra 75 minerals. And Nightmare deals with his counterattack really well on his side of the map. Was able to take down DRG's 4th base. Oh, even looking for another cancel, I think, here with this Mortal. Not quite able to get it, but I love the attempt. And that's Nightmare kind of working his way back into this game, Tasteless. That was some good damage, and he was able to secure the defense back at home so well.
I gotta say, interesting back and forth so far here with these two. Nightmare, playing a pretty safe game. I do love the fact that he got in there with the Adepts, just picks off the hatch and shades right back out. I think it was something that DRG hadn't quite calculated could occur there. We've got another push coming in, again, only with that Immortal, but this time Stalkers paired with Adepts. A lot of Banelings here for DRG, though.
We have 30 Banelings with no Baneling speed in production. I'm a little bit concerned about this engagement because slow Banelings, even on creep, I feel like Nightmare's going to be able to get the splits off that he needs. Let's see if he's paying attention right now. He's waiting for the Banelings to connect there with the Stalkers.
Oh my god, huge counterattack here as well. The Banelings slowly trying to hit their targets.
Yeah, the split pretty good there for Nightmare, but I mean, this attack here at the third base is quite an issue. That Nexus absolutely going to go down with no shield battery able to recharge its shield.
It's kind of funny. It's like they're both winning their fights on either side. The question is going to be, can you stop the Protoss push here as DRG? He's beginning to back up. This Immortal still doing a lot of damage over here onto these Roaches. He picks that up and shuffles away. 3 base to 2 base, both sides bruised and battered.
Yeah, but I think DRG's coming out on top with this one right now, Tasteless. Nightmare doesn't really, he hasn't even started the third base back up again. I feel like he's basically just going to commit to it all in, but DRG, even without Baneling speed, able to get the connections that he needs, and with a brilliant counterattack, just really kind of knocking Nightmare off balance. And I think he should just be ready to absorb the impact of this next attack. I mean, Nightmare's army is not very intimidating. There's 1 Colossus, 1 Immortal, and besides that, it's just, what, like a handful of Stalkers? 17. Not that many. With this Warpin', it is going to get a little bit better here for Nightmare, but DRG's force just seems so overwhelming. And look at this flank setup, too.
Big attack coming here from behind. He picks up the Colossus. Beautiful dodge, but I mean, there's just so much here for DRG. I feel like he's going to flatten this attack, and I think Nightmare maybe zoned out from any other kind of opportunities that he could possibly create here in this game.
Yeah, I feel like DRG just one step ahead after pairing the first attack there with the Adept Glaives, riding that momentum to the mid-game. Even though Nightmare was able to execute a pretty good follow-up attack, was able to cancel the 4th hatchery there for DRG, even get the kill on that 4th hatchery for DRG. It's a stain back at home against the counterattack, but just the build setup that Nightmare was working with, it wasn't really designed to compete with what DRG was cooking. And the fact that DRG had 30 slow Banelings connect that well with the game units, even just Stalkers off creep. I mean, he hit like 5 Stalkers with them because Nightmare was so taxed trying to defend back at home against that third base attack.
It felt like, unlike the PvT that we saw with Nightmare versus ByuN, I think Nightmare was unable to approach the game in any way that was going to give him an advantage there versus DRG. It simply didn't work at all. DRG up 1 win here. Again, he got those Adepts with the Banes and then just took a 4th base, Yeah, kind of interesting. I feel like all the other circuits we watched don't do that. We were both playing into the idea of a counterattack, but it worked out really nicely.
And now DRG, I would say the biggest underdog in this group is 1 map win away from being first place out of Group D into the round of 8.
Man. I mean, and by the way, his play shows it. It seems so obvious. Hindsight is always 20/20, but impressive stuff nonetheless. Let's see if Nightmare can come back and tie this up 1-1, or if DRG is going to close this out 2-0 and be the first player to escape and survive Group D. So once again, a probe sent out to block the hatchery immediately here. Nightmare at the top left, by the way. DRG at the bottom right.
God, DRG's been looking so good today. But then again, I'm thinking about the way that Nightmare played that one. When is the last time that we have seen a 4-gate Glaives Adept build actually win?
Oh, I feel like it's been a long time. I remember when it was like so common. Like every game was like, okay, this is the part where they make the adepts.
At least once a series, sometimes twice in a best of 3.
Let's see if the Zerg knows to chase the shades with the right number of Zerglings.
I think it's my least favorite of all the PBZ builds. It just never feels like it actually gets something done at the top level.
I think it's a bit of a fossil from when the adept was overpowered.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a period, I literally remember I was like, everybody was dying to adepts every game all the time. And I remember there was this game I was casting of Mario, and it was like, I can't remember who the Protoss was, but like the adept play was so busted and it was like hitting him everywhere and he was doing such a good job. And at some point in the cast, I got so hyped. I was solo casting too. I remember specifically because there was like just me alone. And I'm like, oh my God, he's going to do it. He's actually able to stop the adepts. And I was like getting so hyped. And then like as I said it, like 15 more adepts shaded onto screen and killed him. And I just like started laughing. I'm like, oh, this is so funny. But yeah, you know, Blizzard, back when Blizzard, you know, had people that worked on StarCraft 2, they did kind of edit the adept into a more reasonable role in the game. But I feel like, you know, the result of that is we still had some adept builds, and as time passed, they kind of became obsolete.
Yeah, I think it's also hard for a lot of these players too, because I guarantee you, Nightmare goes 4-gate Glaives against your everyday jabroni on the ladder, and he is probably beating them very hard with those 4-gate Glaives, you know? And so maybe for a lot of these players in their practice games, when, you know, 'cause everybody, I would say like pretty much everybody in Korea still grinds the ladder from what I can see. It's very active, even at the top. Nightmare also is one of those guys that will absolutely practice as much as he possibly can. If it's customs, he'll do customs. If it's ladder, he'll do ladder. I guarantee you his win rate with 4-gate adepts is really high, but at the same time, like, you come in here, you do it against DRG, especially a DRG that seems like he has an inkling of what you're doing and is also able to mind game you a little bit by not showing the Banelings, showing only the Lings, and then coming in with a surround and play it like that. You're going to lose the game 99 times out of 100. But here in game number 2, Nightmare going back to more textbook PvZ in the modern sense with a relatively fast Stargate. Behind the 1-gate expansion. Also love this little position right here.
This is cute.
Yeah.
Not going to get anything done there. The Oracle's going to come out next. And yeah, let's see what Nightmare can do here. I mean,
yeah, I wonder how he's going to branch off from this Oracle opening. We've been seeing a lot of Protoss players, especially somebody like Stats, lean very heavily into defensive macro Protoss play with relatively fast carriers, especially with a fast mothership. The new mothership is better than a lot of people expected in terms of the active abilities, I think. I remember when the patch notes, the initial PTR notes came out for the mothership, and they were talking about making the cloak an active ability instead of a passive ability. And obviously that's kind of a nerf, right? But the moment that I saw that, I mean, I know pro players. I was like, that's a buff. Because now people are going to forget about the Overseers when they see the mothership. They're going to undervalue it. How many games have we seen in GSL and also in online cups where Protoss suddenly with the mothership is actually able to make so much use out of cloak because it's perceived as less of a threat?
Yeah, yeah.
But even just beyond that, the fact that Time Warp and Recall are just instantly available because they're these cooldown-based abilities as opposed to energy-based abilities is... It's really cool. I love how much more Mothership player we're seeing here in PvZ.
That was another unit that had kind of a funny place in the game, was the Mothership, you know?
It's so cool. I know that a lot of StarCraft fans, especially the OG ones who came from Brood War into StarCraft 2, are not a fan of this whole hero unit concept. And I hated it with the Mothership core.
Super units are always, it's like heroes. It's always a point of controversy. I feel like that's just, I think that's almost like a, you know, where everybody that was from StarCraft 1 is like, no, anything that's not kind of what I'm already familiar with is bad. I feel like people are getting better about this, especially with these newer RTSs coming out. I had the same revulsion to the Mothership when it was coming out. I'm like, no, this is wrong. Like, super units are bad, but...
I just thought it was so
cool.
Well,
no, the inner nerd, I get it 100%. You're like, this is badass. It's like some kind of, you know, cherry on top of the ultimate army. By the way, this game, it's going to be, you know, a little bit of adept zoning. He does have the oracles to kind of escort the adepts, so if it is mass Zergling, you can just kill all those off and get right back out.
Yeah, kind of like this, but hey, DRG able to force the Pulsar Beam out of every single Oracle. You can see Nightmare actually leaves it active. It's still active. He hasn't deactivated it because it costs 25 energy to start up. So he wanted to get some kind of value from it, but at the end, DRG not going to take the bait. And those are 3 very low energy Oracles right now, so some nice micro. ByuN Grey Goo to get that done. And behind this, Nightmare going for +1, going into Blink, adding in 4 additional gateways, third base, robotics facility. He's kind of building up in the most standard vanilla way possible here in PvZ. And I'm not saying that as a diss. I think that this is absolutely what Nightmare should have been doing, even in game number 1, because he is such a good player. I do think he can go toe-to-toe.
It's interesting to see Nightmare get better and better at like the solid style of play. And by the way, these Adepts all gonna, I think, barely get killed off. Yeah.
One lone survivor to tell the tale.
Yeah.
The oral tradition will continue on here for
They'll have
Protoss.
tattoos of the other Adepts that died when he made it out.
That kind of goes back to what DRG did earlier, by the way, with the micro move on those Lings. The fact that he was able to force Nightmare almost into a forced error.
Yeah.
Activating those 3 Pulsar Beams means that suddenly the Oracle assist there for the Adepts is basically non-existent. Those things were actually able to get the full kill. Now, Adepts are one of these units that really do not scale well in the mid-game or late game in PvZ. They're more of a very niche unit in terms of getting early scouting done and dealing with Zerglings in the very early game, potentially with Glaive builds, but still it hurts to lose them for basically nothing. Nice move, by the way, by DRG. I'm happy to trade those Lings out for 2 probes and get some scouting information, get a cancel on one of those buildings. And for Nightmare, it's not going to be the second Stargate into carriers. We don't have a fleet beacon just yet. Instead, it's actually going to be a second robotics facility, Colossus, and +2 ground weapons. I don't think we have Thermalance done just yet or even started. Just here for Nightmare, so I'm a little concerned about that because DRG, it feels like he's pushing up to...
Oh my god,
no.
It slips through, and almost every link is going to be in the main now. This is going to tax the APM here of Nightmare.
Yeah, and as I was saying, DRG, he is building up to a timing attack, and the fact that there's going to be no Thermal Lance and these Oracles still so low on energy means that it's going to be really hard for Nightmare to actually hold on. And oh no, this shield battery overcharge, maybe even a little bit too early. And plus that payload can just get focused down by the Roaches. No more overcharge for you, Nightmare. And DRG might be ready to book his ticket to the round of 8 with this crazy timing attack off the back of that Ling run by in the main base. I mean, there is a world where Nightmare is potentially able to stabilize, but this is so much damage being dished out.
This is a lot of kills here on these workers. He's already up to 14. Beautiful engagement there. And there's more Roaches coming up here as well.
Yeah, I think
Colossi
Nightmare
going to be handy, but I think Nightmare could stabilize.
I think he might actually be able to stabilize. I was expecting way more of a flood there from DRG. I got a little bit too far ahead of myself, but he's kind of doing the same move that he did in both of his games against Solar and then against Nightmare in game number 1, where he goes for this early push. He gets some kind of leverage on his opponent in the early game and then rides it, this time into a 12-drone flurry as his economy is just building back up. But man, what a timing push there by DRG, getting so much done. Nightmare still with no 4th base. Lost a lot of workers there at the 3rd. Oracle's once again low on energy, and DRG really has just complete map control. I mean, the starter count itself is so low, only 17.
So, look, I think that it's great that Nightmare has survived this. I think he's going to try to come out here and do a counterattack. This probably will force a recall here. I don't imagine these Stalkers can get much done. If the Lings can even surround this, and if the Blinks are all used up, I mean, the Corrosive Bile is just going to obliterate it. Zerg is basically going to ramp up into maxed out and then throw these units at that 3rd base again.
Oh, man, I'm still trying to settle down after I thought that DRG was ready to go in with a killing blow there on Nightmare. As it is right now, though, DRG just happy to instead play it the safe way. Almost maxed it 10 minutes with Hive Tech incoming against a 140 supply Protoss on 3 bases. And Nightmare is just kind of stuck in this position here where he knows he can't really play the macro game against DRG. Especially here on Oceanborn, it's quite hard to defend that 4th base if you get slowed down as hard as Nightmare got slowed down. Oh, watch this Blink come in with these Lings. DRG so keen, especially with Blink on cooldown right now. Gonna have a couple of seconds at least where he's able to dish some damage out. Attacking also into natural expansion. He should have seen those disruptors right by the natural nexus. And I think DRG was half expecting Nightmare to have taken a 4th base either
I think so.
At the 9 o'clock position or over by the 11 o'clock position, but no, that is not the case. So instead he's just gonna retreat back.
So he's going to go back. I think he'll still be able to manage this attack. I'm not sure what Nightmare wants to do next. This is a tough spot for him right now.
Yeah, I feel like for Nightmare, I mean, again, the Oracles are low on energy. You basically just kind of have to go in this position because 2 Vipers are about to pop for DRG. Adrenal is halfway done. Once those Vipers have energy to abduct the 3 Disruptors or the 2 Colossi, whichever ones are the higher value targets in the fight, DRG is going to be really happy. This is the only window I think that Nightmare has to win this game. First Disruptor shot gets dodged right there. Ling's actually coming in for the surround. Oh, look at this surround. Disruptor shot very good, though. Gets big connection. Second one maybe not as strong, but look at the supplies. Actually quite even right now. Nightmare coming with more reinforcements. Oh, he gets the Colossus and the Warp Prism there with a bile. Big win for DRG.
Looks like Nightmare will barely win this fight, but the question is going to be the Remax here. I mean, it's just Stalkers and just Oracles. So if more Roaches can come out here and deal with this, and by the way, there are so many coming in here, it's going to be huge. At the same time, though, Nightmare manages to take out the 4th base, or sorry, excuse me, 5th base, knocking DRG onto 4 bases right now.
Yeah, but we now have Adrenal Lings with +2. The Oracles are out of energy, and the army for Nightmare is basically just pure Stalkers. So once DRG is able to merge his forces here in the middle of the map, I feel like he should have a good chance. Nightmare is going to try and finesse all the value he can with his Stalker Ball. This is his one Hail Mary play to try and get back in this series, lest he fall to the losers match. But DRG is looking so strong right now, Tasteless. Even Sentry's getting warped in. You can see the desperation. That is not the unit you want to make in this position here as Nightmare, but he's basically forced to. He needs a miracle fight to stay alive in this game because DRG's lead is just compounding.
Big force fields come down. It's not going to be enough. Harpooning the Warp Prism. It's losing HP, and it does go down. At the same time, DRG is just exploding on the map, double expanding into 2 different spots. Nightmare having a hard time here. I mean, he's doing his best to advance in, and he's getting shut down over and over.
I mean, he is just stuck. Nice blink forward, actually able to pick off both of those Vipers, but the army here for DRG is so good. Okay, Pulsar Beam's activated here on the Oracle. Should be able to make mincemeat of some of these Lings, but still there's so many Roaches. Even without the Adrenal Lings slowly flooding in, DRG can take this fight. Oh, Speed Banelings too. I think DRG has done it, Tasteless. I mean, Nightmare, he is running out of steam, only on 3 bases. The Stalker Ball is falling. There is no follow-up back at home.
Yeah, and I think that this next punch might be just a flattening one. He's going to come in here, hit hard. The Banelings, oh no, he's actually going to be backing up, probably regrouping.
Yeah,
but I think, again, I think it's inevitable. I think he's going to come in here and try to just close this out. He just wants to regroup for a second.
Yeah, DRG on the verge of making it to the round of 8. Nightmare distance mining from the 4th base. Not enough money to even throw down a Nexus because he has to warp with these Stalkers just to stay alive. And DRG, I mean, he's maybe a little bit overeager right now in this moment. He wants to end the game. He knows how big his advantage is. And Nightmare, he's not ready to give up just yet, but I mean, the army supplies +3 melee attack cracklings here against the 2-1 Stalkers. Time is not on the side of Nightmare. He knows it. But I mean, what a valiant effort here from the Protoss to try and stay in this thing. He is surviving longer than I feel like basically anybody would be able to.
I'm kind of stunned we're still in this game here. Another big attack comes in. There's really nowhere safe to blink.
Oh, this is it.
Yeah, and all these Stalkers are so squishy right now. They're going to be picked off here. And again, I mean, it's you know, just a couple more larvae away from a Zerg being maxed out here. The complexity of the army is getting less and less. It's just Stalkers here.
You can see DRG literally laughing, man. He knows he's done it. He is feeling so good right now with this push into the 3rd base. Nightmare still distance fighting. He does not want to give up, but this one is all but over.
Yeah, this should be game in a second here. Nightmare doing his best, but he's going to have to face off against the winner of the losers match now. DRG with just a knockout performance. 2 quick 2-0s. Nightmare, after looking so good against ByuN, so solid, you know, as far as fundamentals go, being able to expand, being able to kind of know when to attack and know when to pull out. It was a completely different story when it was against DRG. DRG completely outclassing the entire group here today.
I mean, I kind of did the caster faux pas of calling that game too many times
too
early.
I did the same thing. I'm like, this is over.
DRG was just in such a commanding position for so long. I felt like he had a million different plays he could have made to close that one out. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to play it safe. I'm going to play it the same way I did in game number 1 in this set. I'm going to do it the same way I did in game 1 and game 2 against Solar. Just take my lead, compound it, and then ride that advantage to a victory. So let's hear what DRG has to say. The underdog, first place in Group D.
네, 감사합니다.
Congratulations, Dogreguru, on making it to another quarterfinals. How you feeling?
스트레스 많이 받아가지고 될까 싶었는데 이렇게
Well, while I was practicing, I was actually feeling very stressed about the quality of my matches, and I wasn't sure I was going to be able to advance from this group, but in the end, I was able to make it out, so it's a big relief. Well, you were first picked during the group nominations by Solar. You were obviously the underdog coming in here. How do you think you were able to come out with a victory?
연습 때 자주 져서 아마 선수들이 좀 가볍게 본 것 같아요. 네, 근데 이제 최근에 또 바짝해서 게임을.
Well, you know, I feel like I kind of lost some of my understanding of a lot of these different matchups. So, honestly, things worked out a lot better than I expected today, given where I feel like I'm at. You're asking now, how would you rate your performance, DRG, today? And well, my goal was to play half as well as Cyril did. So, 0.6, I don't know if that's like his stars out of 5 or what the 0.66 means. Maybe saying he played 2/3 as well as Cyril did, but in any case. Well, you know, Cyril, he's gone to the military. And then once Cyril gets discharged from the military, it might be kind of the same story with him, trying to come back the same way that you did, DRG, from your military service. What do you think about that? Well, I think that Cyril is still practicing, so I would be surprised if it took him a long time to get back into form. Well, in your matches, it felt like they were a little bit sloppy. There might have been some mistakes in your play. What do you think? DRG actually is saying that he felt like he was making a lot of misclicks when he was playing, especially on his keyboard, and so that kind of fumbled some of the situations. Honestly, here in the caster booth, I did not notice. I thought DRG played really well. And so, DRG, in your next group, you're going to be both with Maru and Sue, and apparently this is the first that DRG is realizing this. He did not know he was going to be meeting Maru in the round of 8, so he is getting an unhappy surprise here. DRG, in the winner's prediction, only 10% of viewers thought you would actually be able to advance out of Group D. What do you think after hearing that, and what's your determination heading into the quarterfinal? Well, you know, I have been training very hard for this GSL, so I hope that I will be able to receive the fruit of my labor in the round of 8, and yeah, that's the winner's interview there. DRG in a surprise upset, able to advance. When we get back, the Group D elimination match, Solar versus ByuN. One of these nerds getting knocked out. We'll see you guys soon.
top Oh yeah, I'm going for the goal. Where's the throne? That's my spot no matter whatever you told. I don't see no competition, not to mention what I'm posed. Taking over, crashing ceilings, baby, I'ma do the most. Standing firm, 10 toes, ain't no backing down. I'm going hard in the field, I'm a savage now. Don't be appalled, it get real about the action automatic. I bring the static to anybody asking round. What's the difference between heroes and villains? All it is their opposing missions. And I already know how it's gonna end.
The moon is shining, and I am sensing danger. Or the stars align, my mood is slowly changing. Something's haunting me, lurking in the dark. Carefully, it is stalking from afar. Like a thief in the night, it's staying out of my sight. But I'm not afraid, so I will stay and put up a fight. I don't care if it hurts, or if I crash down and burn. I will rise like a phoenix from the ashes and return. It's like the wolves are talking, whispering to me. Try to keep my calm by counting down the sheep. Counting 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 sheep. Slowly they're coming for me, but I don't get what I'm doing wrong. Counting 4, 5, 6, but it is hard. They try to tear me apart. I am done with the misery. Like a thief in the night, it's staying out of my sight. But I'm not afraid, so I will stay and put up a fight. I don't care if it hurts, or if I crash down and burn. I will rise like a phoenix from the ashes and return.
Let's go.
Fight for the pride. To be the best, you gotta beat the best. The story of a legend.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back. It's time to go to the elimination match here. This is Solar versus ByuN. I can't believe I'm saying that. I thought we were going to be casting this one best of 3 ago. One of these two is about to be eliminated, and I got to say, it's very possible that today Solar just doesn't make it out, which is wild. I mean, he was by far the most voted likely to advance here. This is supposed to be an easy group for him, but it's not looking easy now.
He was a GSL champion just a couple of seasons ago. Last season got knocked out of the round of 16, and now here in Group D of Season 2. Already down in the elimination match after what was a pretty tough series against CRG, but Solar, he's still one of the best Zerg players in the world, and honestly, between him and ByuN, I'm really not sure who I give the advantage to in this one, because Nightmare versus ByuN just kind of looked a little bit confused about how to approach what Nightmare was doing. He tried the same build again because he thought it was the right answer, but it just didn't seem to line up well against Nightmare's style of play. And I know it's a different matchup, but it just didn't seem very confident or very strong or very coherent in terms of an approach to the matchup and an approach to the opponent in a preparation-based tournament. And then Solar on the flip side, I know him as a CBZ specialist going back like almost a year ago, 2023. He was a killer in that matchup. And then DRG, it felt like just kind of outclassed him with some very small finesse plays and strategy. And so both these guys, who on paper I think are the favorites, I think most people would agree, were the favorites to advance from this group, now down here, and I really don't know who to give the edge to. And I know this is ZVT, it's going to be a different matchup than the ZVZ or the PBT previously, but I'm not really sure. I'm worried for ByuN if he advances from this that he will still not be able to solve the puzzle that is Nightmare and PBT right now, because that first best of 3 was rough. But Solar, I think if he wins, has a very good shot of winning ZVP. Because Nightmare, not very good against DRG there. I have to say, that 4-gate adept build, I mean, something we've seen a million times before. It did not work for him. So Solar, I mean, I think if you're in Solar shoes right now, you're looking at ByuN as kind of the first real opportunity. You take this guy down, you might be booking your ticket along with DRG into the round of 8. Let's see if that's going to be the fate here as we start the elimination match of Group D.
Okay, here in the bottom left is Solar, and the top right is ByuN.
Oh, and of course you're doing this, ByuN.
Yeah, he's going to do that double racks. Terran Forever, again, from Chile. Welcome, Sweden. I see all your signs. I see the cheese in the back. Don't need to read that one.
The ByuN sign right there. So many ByuN fans here in the audience. ByuN and Solar.
I know, right? It is a surprise from Germany.
I like that sign.
I know. Yeah, kind of a funny day here, but you know, it's important to remember. Like, I have to remind myself of it, that like every GSL, the landscape does change, right? You know, the people that you're used to seeing win, they might not be on top anymore. But I like what you were saying, State, earlier, that like if Solar wins here, I think he probably gets out.
Yeah, if Nightmare plays to the same caliber he played against DRG, I think Solar can beat that.
I think Solar can do even better, to be honest. DRG had like a really planned out day of games. Like it's everybody's, if you've ever prepped for a match, like you'll know this experience where it's like everything went according to plan. It's like, okay, I was like the director of this game. And every move I made prompted the next thing that they needed to do, and they played right into my hands, and that just felt like what DRG's group was. But I think that Solar is actually still bigger, better, faster, stronger than these guys if we have enough games played here. But it's going to have to start with ByuN.
ByuN did look a little bit lost there in TVP against Nightmare, but TVZ, completely different beast, especially ByuN being kind of the specialist that pioneered this 2-racks Reaper opening here on the low ground in Legacy of the Void. We'll see exactly how he does it, because everyone kind of adds their own a little bit of flavor to this build. Some people make just a couple of Reapers, some people will go up to like 4 or 5 and really go to try and cancel, or potentially even kill that third hatchery. Some will kind of try to bait out the queen and go for the snipe there. ByuN still continuing on Reaper production, so I believe he's going to go up to at least, I think that's the 4th one. That's queued up, and Solar with a ton of lings, actually sustaining a fair bit of damage, really.
Yeah, and it's a dance we've seen, you know, a million times before. We've got that command center coming along here. The Reaper is just going to try to get even a couple lings is going to be nice.
Oh, and it's just actually 3 Reapers here, huh?
Yeah, this is the standard ByuN play, right? Get the 3 Reapers out. You harass, but you're also basically making it impossible to take a third base. It always feels like now with this build, it seems like it's less active. You can see the drones hiding, by the way.
Ooh, nice quick snipe.
Part of it's that Zergs no longer immediately throw down the hatchery because we've mathed out that, in fact, 3 Reapers can delay this. Oh! Okay.
Better hide.
Yeah.
That drone's playing a little survival horror game right now in the corner.
Yeah, that's right. It's Solid Snake under the cardboard box right now. He is going to slip up here.
Finally gets that third base planted. ByuN actually going 3CC behind this as well. Probably the Hellions to pair up with these Reapers, I would imagine. Just have the gas to make Cyclones, but it will in fact be those Hellions. Solar made a fair number of Lings, actually 13 in total here with speed. Might have been anticipating ByuN going for a little bit more than 3 Reapers in this situation, but instead going to see the 3 Reapers, see the wall, and have a pretty good idea that Hellions are underway.
So now we got to wait. You know, the Reaper threat's basically gone. The creep can finally stretch out onto the map. That's another feature of this build, is the 3 Reapers basically prevent that. He is going to come down again. It's going to be double eBay into 3 command center, which means you're only investing in the future and really not putting anything into the present. We don't seem to see Zergs do anything crazy at this phase of the game. I feel like there was a period a couple of years ago where we did have these like even weird stuff like Nidus Worm attacks, and it seems like they were working and then they stopped working, and now we're in this period in the meta where like Terrans are super greedy. I'm not saying that this should be a way or not, but I'm just saying like it seems like Terrans really just go full on greed, and Zergs are not interested in punishing. And maybe the truth is, you know, in the ecosystem of the ladder, it's been labbed out enough that it doesn't work that often.
I think that the Cyclone rework really kind of just threw a wrench into the plans of Zerg to go for any kind of all-in, because Roach Ravager, well, it can work in very large numbers. You just don't often see those pushes anymore because the Cyclone is so good at microing and shutting it down in the early game. And yeah, you're right. As a result, oftentimes if Terran wants to go for something really greedy, they can get away with it. Every once in a blue moon, we will have that punish come through from the Zerg, but that is not going to be the case in this game. Instead, both players is powering up, and the way that ByuN is playing this, I'm imagining it's probably going to lead up to a 2-2 timing, I would think. It seems like that's the way that the 3rd command center would pay for itself in terms of army value, and the fast 1-1 will turn to 2-2. Then have a guaranteed upgrade advantage going into the opponent. So it's going to be a little bit of a slow burn until that stage. And ByuN with these very rapid units, the 4 Hellions and the 3 Reapers. I don't know why I can't say Reapers. I think I got tripped up yesterday saying Reapers when I wanted to say Reavers, and now I'm afraid I've like traumatized myself into not knowing how to say this word anymore.
Over yourself here.
But actually, look at this.
It's going to be a little Hellbat
Marines
push.
with 1-1. Oh, this is not what I expected at all.
Yeah,
this is a
cute.
cool push.
I like this. Special Forces coming in here.
Yeah, this is like the most ByuN attack of ByuN attacks.
Yeah.
Oh, this is sick.
Yeah, I like this. It's like just enough Hellbats that it can kind of make a wall.
Does he? His stim just finished. All right, he's stimming forward. These were 1-1 Marines against non-upgraded Zerg. Hellbats here in the front. There's a good number of Ling Bane. No upgrades there on those Ling Banelings. No speed to be found either. And for now, ByuN just kind of forcing a lot of units, not really able to find the damage he needs to make the push, but this is some great pressure with units that you're already just going to naturally make, right? Leading into 2-2.
Now, I mean, here's the truth, though. It hasn't done that much. It's sort of making a lot of noise outside of the 3rd base, but it hasn't really actually accomplished very much. He's going to come in again. I think Zerg's going to be okay. I like the neat little timing and the set of units, but it hasn't done anything so far.
It's very cute, though.
It is cute. No,
this is one of my favorite pushes that I've seen all year.
I'm attracted to these kind of builds. I'm like, oh, well, look at that. What is this funny little thing you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, the reality is going for double engineering bay for 1-1 with a really fast 3rd command center like this is the 1-1 timing. You never really have that match. Ooh, Bailing speed finishes, and ByuN is able to evacuate the majority of his forces just in the nick of time.
But overall, not too impactful. 3 more barracks are going to be thrown down here.
At the end of the day, it still will be 2-2 that is the big timing, I think, for ByuN more than anything else. But that was a kind of cute way of maneuvering here in the early game and finding some damage, dampening the drone production there for Solar a little bit, as he really didn't get up to the 80 or 90 workers that he wanted to. He just sat at 70 and some change for a little while because of the army knocking on his door. But both players powering up right now. Still are going to be going for the more classic Hydraling Bane style that we're seeing gaining in popularity over the past couple of 6 months.
Okay, and an unload over here. And, I mean, you know, it looks like he's going to at least get rid of the Spore. Again, not really.
Medevac.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
No.
It falls on the bridge.
Oh, they're saved.
I didn't know it could land there. The debris
they could just take the subway all the way back to the top right corner of the map.
They just got to open that tunnel that bridge connects to. Look, so far, not so good for ByuN. He's barely made a dent. It's, you know, one thing about the, you know, the best Zergs, if you guys have heard my cast for a long time, you probably heard me say this, but it's like the really best Zergs, it feels like you can't leave your base and get anything done. You know what I mean? You're like, is there ever a moment where I can be on the map and do something? It feels like they're just always ready. They always have enough. And this is kind of looking like one of those games.
Yeah, this feels a little bit awkward. I mean, the way these builds normally line up with a fast third command center and with really quick double engineering bay is that you have some kind of window with 2-2. Oh my goodness, please hold position this medevac. But like that timing is almost come and gone. 2-2 has been done for about 30 seconds now, and only at this moment has been actually moving across the map, but maybe he will be able to get something done. He's inching his way closer and closer to that triangle third, which is a really important junction on this map, and a timing where Solar is quite vulnerable. The creep spread is not that strong. 2-2 is still not yet complete, about halfway done, so it's going to be a ways away too. But this counterattack has huge potential on ByuN's side of the map, Tasteless.
Yeah, this counterattack is a lot. I mean, keep in mind that ByuN's basically maxed out. The only thing that can fight that is whatever's going to be popping out of the barracks and the factories. And there's just so much over here.
It might be a little bit of a base trade, though, because I don't think Solar has enough at home to stop this army. He's going in the hive tech. The hive just now finished. The lurker den is almost complete, so no lurkers on the field just yet.
Yeah.
And the army that Solar has, if ByuN micros perfectly, it can't really contest right now, but at the same time,
you know, it's 2 base to 3 base. There is this like weird base at the bottom right that I actually think ByuN's probably not going to see.
Yeah, it's very awkward.
The 6 o'clock base is going to be taken. This was like Solar was doing so well that he just took so much of the map that this hidden base could actually play a huge role later on here. I don't know that you know, that Terran can push much further into this.
Yeah, 2-2 is done now, and look at this 360 surround coming in from Solar. The Baneling connections at the very front line are good. Oh, even those Baneling connections on Marines got more dead than they deserve to, but still ByuN at 77 supply. Army supply, that is, against the 60 or so of Solar. Oh my god, those drones.
So crazy. By the way, nothing's mining at Terran's third base.
Yeah, he lost a lot of workers. I'm actually surprised he hasn't transferred more down to that third base.
I'm glad that we actually spotted that because, you know, he's still, okay, he's sending SCVs now, I see on the mini-map. But yeah, I mean, if he doesn't start to mine from that, the Zerg is going to just get bigger and bigger.
I feel like ByuN, now's your opportunity, man. You got to move across the map. Almost 100 army supply. Solar is scrambling to try and recoup the losses that he had in an army value. This might be the last real window where ByuN has an army supply and army value advantage here against Solar. Ah, it's +3 he's waiting for. About to finish. Oh, watch out for these lurkers.
Yeah, where's the scan? Oh
yeah,
my god.
It's a little bit late.
Might have mishotKeyed that for a second. I think this is almost a bit of a compulsive drop. He's just going to try to go into the main. Maybe not a bad idea. I don't know if there's anything in here.
Yeah, 4 medevacs in the main base. This is where the hive is and the lurker den. These are 3-3 Marines now as that upgrade just finished. So once again, ByuN with the upgrade advantage. Blinding Cloud coming in, actually. Oh no, it's going to be the Parasitic Bomb on the medevacs. Oh no, they are not getting out of here alive, Tasteless. That's an expensive loss.
Yeah, and this is one of these moments where like the Terran, the instability kicks in, and then they try to dive into the main, and if it backfires, they're going to lose a lot. But look at this push coming down here. Oh my god, the lurker stays alive.
Lurker barely surviving right now, but if ByuN's able to take down this hatchery, he has a real fighting chance. More Banelings streaming in. These are Banelings on creep. ByuN able to focus fire them down. And now there isn't much meat left in Solar's army. ByuN able to maintain this army supply advantage. This hatchery, I think, is going down. Tasteless. Solar's about to be on, what, 2.5 bases? It's an awkward situation. That hatchery's still barely alive. Blinding Cloud able to zone away the Marines, and that's going to allow Solar to take down the siege tanks. A great move. That hatchery with like, what, 100, 200 HP? It's going to survive.
It's a crazy game. He's going to actually get the spawning pool. Yeah, he's going to take that out. And as the push is continuing on,
I think he's doing it.
I think ByuN can win the game now. If you can't keep making lings in this moment, even though the Lings are like, you know, the weakest units in the fight, they're kind of what let the Banelings and everything else come in and do damage. It's kind of like not being able to make Zealots in a PvT. I think ByuN just won the game.
Solar doesn't even have the larva. He has 4 larva right now. He's floating a ton of money. He can't make the army that he needs to even stand a chance against this force. GG.
Whoa, that was crazy. That was like, Solar was doing the best job ever of holding that. And then at like the last couple seconds, it's like, oh, the hatchery's pretty low, and you're not defending your main enough, and suddenly, I gotta say, ByuN really wowing me. And you know who else is happy about this? nightmare.
Yeah, I
He's
bet he
fist
is.
pumping right now.
He really wants that rematch, I think, but ByuN with
Yeah.
great TVZ, trying to pick up some momentum. It was looking shaky for him there in the mid game. You know, the 2-2 timing, it came and went. ByuN's army was still sitting at his third base. He moved across the map maybe 30 or 40 seconds after that and was still able to make something happen there against Solar, and he hit it such a crisp. I mean, it wasn't crisp in that the timing lined up well with ByuN's build himself.
Right.
But Solar had all these moving parts that weren't yet in their right place. He was going for the Hive tech. He was trying to get 2-2, which was only halfway done. He was trying to work his way up to Vipers and up to Lurkers, which weren't yet on the map. And so there was this real vulnerability for Solar, and it was even made worse by the fact that ByuN was able to manage the creep spread so well in the early game. And ByuN was just able to grasp at that one weakness Solar had and just tighten the noose around his neck, and it was a slow bleed where Solar eventually lost hatchery after hatchery after hatchery, and then finally bled out. And ByuN now leading 1-0 in this series. One map win away from getting the rematch in the final match of Group D. Solar fighting for his life as we go to Crimson Court.
We both did it. We both were like, he's going to make barracks in the middle of the map. We're totally wrong. We are apes. That's so funny. No, of course, he's going to do the same build he always does. 3 Reaper, double racks, 3 Reaper.
It's hard to unlearn all of Wings of Liberty and Heart of the Swarm, man.
I literally, to this day, every once in a while, a game will start and I'll go, ooh. And it's like,
oh, it's
no,
not CVE. It's going making a depot.
He always makes the wall in there. So, by the way, as far as this type of build goes, it does seem like 3 Reapers is officially the way to play this. Do you remember, like, before we had games where it was like they would just keep making Reapers, or they'd get 5? Or maybe this is before we were casting together. I'm not sure. All these casts kind of bleed together for me. It's kind of a big soup in my brain, so maybe that was before.
I remember a lot of games where we saw 4 Reapers. Maybe a couple where there were 5. It's hard.
And there was like a couple where they just kept making them the whole time.
Yeah, that I did not cast with you.
Yeah,
I think that would persist in my memories. I would hope.
There was at least one where I'm like, oh, you just kind of keep doing it, and or maybe they got up to like, you know, like 10 or some crazy number like that, 9 or something.
Sure, that's not Wings of Liberty, man.
Yeah.
Remember when they used to throw those grenades?
That was Maka Prime. I'm like, sorry guys, I forgot that was a game from 13 years ago.
Reapers used to be so insane.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly how they rebalanced it. I don't know if it was the build time or the stats.
I'm not a big fan of the unit in general. I remember looking at it and being like, okay, it kind of seems like a unit a game designer would think up and be like, yeah, this is my new take on it. And I'm like, well, you better make this thing pretty bad or it's going to be way too strong. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they did make it way too strong in Wings of Liberty. They used to throw grenades that would do the damage like a siege tank shot basically on a structure.
Something that can circumvent geography is a little bit insane. You got to make sure that it's going to come with its own limitations.
It's very StarCraft 2, though.
It is.
I mean, this is like Reaper is one of those units just kind of exemplifies what StarCraft 2 is all about.
If you remember, I don't know if you saw the announcement of StarCraft 2 that was in Korea, like with Dustin Browder, where they debuted it.
I did see this video, yeah.
And yeah, so you know what I'm talking about. There was like a couple things they showed. I remember for one, like the Zealots would charge in, and I remember hearing the audible like, whoa, from the audience, like, oh, that's crazy. Seeing a Colossus that you would right-click
walk up,
and it would walk up a hill, and I'm like, that's insane. And then they also showed the Reaper. The Reaper would hop up. I don't think they showed Zerg in it. I could be wrong. I think it was like just Terran and Protoss.
Well, those are the cooler races anyway.
Yeah. Those are
Nobody likes Zerg.
No one likes Zerg, all right? We would know they're going to win all the tournaments later, okay? They're going to have their glory. For now, we're going to give the glory to the races before the game's out. Terran and Protoss. But yeah, I remember them showing the Reaper. And I remember, like, just, you know, people on Team Liquid arguing like crazy. Like, it was, you know, a real point of controversy.
They did it right, though. I feel like StarCraft 2, for all its flaws, is either the best or the second best RTS of all time, bar none. I mean, it's this or Brood War, in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%.
I say that as a guy that plays Age of Empires, that plays Warcraft, that plays Command and Conquer, that plays
you
really
originally
everything.
came from Warcraft 3, right? That was your first game.
By the way, that Reaper barely surviving. This is kind of an insane
Yeah.
Texas standoff style thing that's happening here in the middle of the map that we rarely get to see. So they're meeting at high noon, the Queens and the Reapers in the middle of the map. testing their mettle. But yeah, I used to play a lot of Warcraft 3. I actually came from mostly playing Dota 1. That's why I'm a Protoss player now.
That's so funny.
I played a lot of Dota 1. I know Scarlet was another one of those players that I think mostly came from Warcraft 3 and also played a lot of Dota 1. We used to actually, I didn't know Scarlet back then, but we talked about it later where we would play on the same, because back then there was this era where Warcraft 3, all of the games were hosted, the custom games were hosted by people, and then it became bots. It was like the ChatGPT was taking over Warcraft 3 where all of the people had their bots hosting on the servers. And we used to play on like the same Dota 1 bots, so maybe me and Scarlet used to battle a little bit in Dota 1, but a long time ago. By the way, cool build coming out from ByuN. He's going for really fast Banshees, double engineering berry now coming in, stem also faster than usual, and the marine count ballooning quite high, just completely foregoing the factory units is ByuN. All of this on 3 command centers. Meanwhile, Solar just kind of building up about as he would normally. Double engineering bay, I think a little bit faster, a touch faster than it was in the previous game, especially with respect to ByuN's opening. It's going to be maybe like a 15 or 20 second window if both players start their 1-1 immediately upon these buildings completing. But I wonder what these Banshees are going to be able to get done. It's rare that you see, I think, Banshees paired up with Marines like this. This is a unit that I kind of sequester in my brain with Hellions in this matchup. As you go Hellions, and that's the pairing with the Banshees. Like if the Hellions are the main course, the Banshees, like the sommelier brings out the wine that goes along with it, right? But having this come through, able to get a couple of drone kills. Oh, even gonna get does not get the third one. Some nice micro by both these guys this game.
Yeah, so far really clean here.
But it's just unusual to see one Banshee like this, isn't it? No cloak, just one Banshee.
Well,
with a lot of bio.
I think that, when you, but I think maybe that's to kind of impact the Zerg's behavior, right? Because you're right, we don't normally have one Banshee that comes out, and so maybe they want the Zerg to overreact, and he can kind of fill that tech in, and that extra money that's not spent on Banshees and Cloak with something else. Because now there's going to be this push coming down here. This is a push. It's kind of funny. This is hitting like actually a little bit before the 4th base finishes. Maybe this can force a cancel.
Yeah, I think this is kind of similar to the Hellbat Marine push before, although we'll see. That is a lot of Lings. I think this is mostly designed just to try and pick off some Queens, force some more production in terms of military. Oh, be careful with that medevac.
It seemed like he misclicked for a second.
But that was like almost an anti-timing there for ByuN. It's just like the previous push, where you're doing this because you have everything else building up behind it. 1-1 wasn't done yet. Combat shields had only just begun. That push never designed to kill the hatchery or kill a gross number of Queens. It's just something that kind of checks the greed of the Zerg. And ByuN did that pretty successfully, although it was quite scary with that one low HP medevac. And as a result, the worker lead here for Solar actually not that substantial. And ByuN is building up to a pretty nice timing back at home. 2-2 still starting.
Yeah.
Well, actually, late with the 2-2. Look at this. Only just now starting it. So Solar's been able to catch up.
It seems like ByuN's trying to control this 6 o'clock spot so that you can't grow in there. But already, Solar's going to finish a hatchery up here in the top left. Solar's definitely getting to where he needs to be. Let's not forget how Game 1 ended, because it actually looked like Solar was having this magnificent hold and great counterattacks. And then in the course of maybe like almost a minute and 30 seconds, the game got turned on its head. And ByuN took control.
And that was at that critical moment where Solar was just trying to fill out all the pieces of his puzzle, all of his tech tree. And ByuN was just able to completely sever his economy before he came online. And I wonder if this is kind of going to be the same story. I feel like Solar is playing this considerably better than the previous game. He's maybe not droning quite as hard, but his upgrades are faster. Yet he's not going to have the same window that he had previously. 2-2 for Zerg is the same as 2-2 for Terran. And also the Hive tech feels like it's also considerably faster. That Hive is almost done already. Just here on Ling Bane, and that's kind of the virtue of not going Hydras here, is you don't have to spend all that resource on that. You don't have to get all the Hydras upgrades. You don't need to morph these relatively expensive units. Just make enough Ling Bane to hand off the aggression, and now the Hive is done. Adrenal Gland's going to get started here in a moment. So there already has a pretty considerable army here in the front.
Yeah, I guess that depot's going to get canceled here.
Ultra's coming in from Solar. Okay, this is cool.
This is a very different game. A very different game here from Solar.
These are fast Ultras, man.
Yeah, trying to go for a very different comp. Kind of reminds me of a StarCraft 1 game. You know, you get up to about 4 to 5 bases, and then the Ultralisks come in. Sometimes you can even do it with 3 bases.
Kind of flabbergasted by these distance mining mules, but Solar actually going to peek forward here. A little over ambitious. Does get the 1 siege tank with the Lings on the left side, but those Banelings took a lot of damage. 102 Lings have gone down. 4 Marines have gone down.
It seems like upgrades on both sides are totally synced up. Look at this. They're literally going to finish within seconds of each other. So it doesn't seem like in this game anybody's going to really have any kind of major upgrade advantage or disadvantage.
So Solar is going into Ultralisks and also getting a Greater Spire.
Yeah,
I'm a little confused.
Well, this is definitely a novel tech, right? I think this cast might be a little bit more exploratory.
Is he going to go for maybe just 1 or 2 Broodlords, just trying to kind of like siege down this forward base for ByuN, like the same way you would with a siege tank?
Yeah, or like, you know, those Ravagers that were hitting that gas. And maybe he just wants to take out the high-value gas with the Broodlords and kind of draw, like fish out the Terran into a fight.
That might be it, because he's getting Chitinous Plating, he's getting the Ultralisk armor upgrade. I want to see how many Corruptors he makes. Oh, he has 8 already, so he's actually going to make a fair number of Broods. It's not just going to be a couple. It's rare that you see a Zerg fill out the tech tree like this so quickly.
This is a very different game. I'm really curious how this goes. Now, let's also keep in mind, like, Solar has not won a game today, and he got smashed by ByuN in that last game. So, like, this doesn't feel like a build where he's like, let's try this, let's run this build and see what happens.
Look at these Overlords like hiding in the foliage under this tree, by the way.
Yeah.
All right, 8 Broods morphing in. First Ultralisk in production as Solar is maxed. And ByuN is almost playing this Morrow-esque. He's building 3 more command centers. He has sensor towers in all these different areas of the map. And now he sees the Broods. And I don't know if he really has the answer for it. It's only 1 starport, I think. We only have 2 Vikings on the map. Even the medevac count isn't that high. It's really just Ghosts that are going to be the main anti-air here for ByuN, but he only has, what, 5 of them? This is a deadly push, Tasteless. I don't know if ByuN has the army to actually stop this.
And the counterattack is pretty measly. It doesn't seem like there's any tech to directly address this. And so he could end up just getting pushed away. I mean, I see, what, is that 2 Vikings underneath the Marines? Kind of hard to tell.
Yeah, 2 Vikings in total. One of them, I believe, got abducted and taken out earlier. But almost all the siege tanks have fallen here for ByuN, and so suddenly this Ling Bane mix is able to get so much damage done. 30 SCVs already falling, both to the Broods here in the front and the Banelings in the back, as ByuN's economy basically just got cut in half. And 4 more Ultras coming in here for Solar. He is tagging this so well. I mean, the Broodlords, they are trading up, but they've already done their job. The siege tank count, it's all the way down at 3. Vikings are getting forced out here from Terran, and once this Remax comes in, I don't know how ByuN survives against 5 Ultras and all of these Cracklings with the limited splash damage he has.
It's kind of crazy. By the way, talk about a game where ByuN never really had his moment here. I'm not saying the game's going to end, by the way, but it's really just been, you know, Solar asserting himself, absolutely making sure that there are no soft spots in his position. And it's just ByuN kind of being abused over at this expansion. A lot of Banes are being made, so I think it's going to go from, like, harass and prodding into a full-on attempt to wipe this position out.
Yeah, but Solar isn't really playing for the Remax that much. He's just trying to build the highest value army he possibly can. And these Brutes absolutely did their job this game, because now the Ultras are coming in. ByuN sees them, and these are all the siege tanks right here in the front. The Ling Baneling also flooding in. Oh my goodness, the connections very close to getting on top of those Ghosts. Only a handful of them left, 6 in total. These Ultras just continuing to push forward. There isn't much support for the Ultras on the ground, but just look at the supplies. GG.
GG. Well done by Solar. A much more commanding performance.
Yeah, and what a novel approach on that map, too. A map that is pretty hard for Zerg, honestly, going into both Greater Spire and Ultralisk, making 8 Broods, and just basically using them to disrupt the mining, sever the economy of the Terran, and also eliminate the majority of the splash damage, and then the Remax onto Ultra Ling Bane.
Right.
So strong, just taking advantage of everything that the Broodlords accomplished. That is a great way to utilize Broodlords, and you can't do that on every map. That is a really smart move to kind of abuse the terrain and the way that Terran is naturally expanding towards you. Just smart play from Solar.
Yeah, I mean, Solar, you know, again, a very different game. I think he not only played the opponent, he played the map and the play style of ByuN perfectly well. Now it's going to go into post-youth, which is, I guess, when you're just a glimmer in your mom's eye. I don't know what
it's going to be us in a couple of years, tasteless.
Guys, we're going to go to this final match. Remember, the loser is knocked out of the GSL. Solar versus ByuN. Game 3 starting now here, and the winner goes on to face off against Nightmare in the final match.
Let's get ready to rumble, rumble. Let's get ready to rumble. You looking for trouble? Let's get ready to rumble, rumble. Let's get ready to rumble. Tell them it's going down now. Let's
Okay, Solar here in the top right, ByuN in the bottom left.
Have we cast it post-youth in GSL yet?
No, I don't think so.
Because this is one of the maps that gets vetoed the most.
Well, you know, it's
for
funny.
Obvious reasons.
Every map, I'm sorry, every season there's a map that's just going to be the least popular. Usually it has the most weird features, and it'll get vetoed over and over. And sometimes there's like almost a mini game that's played where one guy will just assume that like the other player will veto the bad map, so then he can veto another map that he doesn't like. And sometimes both players do it, and then it ends up where that map isn't vetoed and it comes out later on.
Maybe that's the case here. So many cheese signs.
There we
That's a
go.
second cheese
This
sign.
Zergling's going to eat the cheese that time.
I'm getting hungry.
Yeah. The cheese is the same size as Zergling, too.
But if you don't play the ladder, and if you don't see this map very often because it's very often banned in tournaments, the strange feature here on Post-Youth is that the main base kind of plays like a 2v2 map. You have kind of this natural pocket. It's not even really a pocket. It's just a second base in the main with 6 mineral patches. 3 of them are gold patches. You see that right now on the screen. Yeah, and this isn't something that I don't think we've ever really seen in StarCraft 2 history. It's a very unique base layout. ByuN's going to go for that expansion first. Surprisingly to me, Solar is not going for the gold base in the main. He's instead taking basically, I guess, there isn't really a triangle third on this one. It's kind of it's an awkward shape.
Yeah,
it's not equilateral. It's like, isosceles, I don't know my geometry, man. I got a B in that in high school. That's American geometry. That's probably failing in any European classroom. But yeah, interesting choice here by Solar to go for the forward expansion and then take the in-base natural just now here at like the, what, 2-minute, 20-second mark or so. Interesting approach. Maybe because he was afraid of ByuN going for 2 Rex Reaper, because that kind of wouldn't make sense. It's hard for the Reapers to kill the first hatch.
Yeah.
Whereas this one is very safe. Hard to get the read. I mean, we don't cast this game
well, this
or
is
this
the
map
thing.
very often,
and here's
right?
the thing, it's probably like not going to be in the next season of GSL. We might not see it again. So
I would be surprised if it was.
Yeah, yeah. It's I don't know. I think it's always good to have these kind of weird maps because I think it forces us to, first of all, it forces the players to look at the game differently, which then forces us to understand the game in a different way. But the reality is pros will almost always veto it because they want to play on the maps they've always played on, right? I mean, I talk about it as a caster, and then whenever there's a new map in the map pool online for ladder, I'll veto it. You know what I mean? Even though I'm like, no, we need more maps, we got to play new stuff. But like, even when I'm playing, I'm like, okay, so we got to, you know, I don't want to have to figure something else new out. It's going to be so much work.
See, you ever watch one of these movies where like just someone is going through hardship the entire time, and it's a great movie? By the way, nice scout there by Solar. He sees the command center. But you watch these movies where, what was that movie with Leonardo DiCaprio where he fights the bear?
Fights the iceberg, the Titanic? No, that was the Remnant is what you're talking about.
Yeah, the Remnant. That was DiCaprio, right? I'm terrible with actors and their names.
100%, yeah.
He went through it, man. He struggled. I don't want to fight a bear. I will watch the movie of the guy fighting the bear. That's the same with me watching the StarCraft 2 games.
Yeah.
I don't want to play on Post-Youth. I will veto this. I want the pro gamers to struggle and give me a unique viewing experience. For me as a caster, for me as a viewer, I want to live vicariously through this without any of the bad parts. I just want to enjoy the journey that they have to suffer through.
Right.
And sometimes we get maps, they aren't quite balanced. I mean, this is maybe one of the worst map pools for Zerg we've had in a very long time. I think a lot of players would agree with that. But for me as an outsider, I like the experimentation. I like how unique the gameplay can be. And also, We don't see this map very often because players veto it, but we're probably going to see it in the GSL finals. It's a best of 7, you know?
Well, that's usually when maps like this emerge, where it's like, oh, okay, now we finally have enough. It's a best of 7 now, so we're finally going to end up actually seeing this map.
And I like that. I like how it mixes things up a little bit, especially in the later stages of tournaments when you go into best of 5s and best of 7s. So at least that's my 2 cents as somebody who asked me 6 years ago when I was trying to compete in this game, and I'd be like, no, I hate it. Never do that again.
Yeah, no, once you start casting or just watching, you're like, no, I want to see what they could do on these maps.
The TOs are buffoons. They should never put this tournament thing. I'm going to tweet about this. But yeah.
So back at home, I mean, it's just going to be more and more macro. We don't really know, by the way, the implications yet of like just having a gold minerals in your base. Obviously, well, I guess we know the mathematical implications is that you're going to have way more minerals. But obviously that affects different races. Like it seems like Terran can just kind of spike up in more Marines. Where Zerg, I'm not so sure. I guess it would be pretty comfortable if you went Roach Ravager, but we don't have that this game. It's melee attack upgrades.
I don't know exactly how the math works on it, but because there's only 6 patches, I think once it's fully saturated, it's almost equivalent to a blue base. It just takes a little bit less workers. So it's kind of like a pacing thing. And then also because there's only 6 minerals, it mines out way faster, especially half of them are gold.
True.
So it's it's a little awkward to macro with. By the way, not the only gold base on both youth either, as you see Solar expanding to the gold base in the center of the map. Another relatively quiet start from both these guys.
Okay, so another push out here. And this is where you can really create some threats over here on that gold base. I mean, it's pretty clear Solar's not going to save this. Yeah. Barely cancels that just in the nick of time here. He's going to keep pushing up.
He has some momentum here. There's no Bailings actually more. The second stim, because there is no combat shield, is very expensive, and that's why you see ByuN walking back.
Yeah.
But that is some nice momentum play to get 7 workers.
Well, to cut off that hatchery as well.
Kill that hatchery. Get a lot of damage done. This is something that ByuN wasn't really able to do successfully in the previous game.
This is by far his best move coming out here. He's going to send a tank in here, which usually telegraphs a kind of committed push. He wants to try to get some sort of foothold over here.
Yeah, and I think one of the reasons why ByuN is able to do this but wasn't able to in the previous 2 games is he hasn't really been quite as greedy. He did still go for the really fast third command center, but only 1 engineering base. It's just a +1 timing attack. Well, all these Marines, and it's why his army's really ballooned so much. By the way, Solar, oh my goodness, those queens. No, you got to move command him away. Another queen almost falling there. It's so scary, man. That could be game-ending. Could be huge damage. Nice
Banes
micro
are going to
there.
come up here, and again, there's a lot more Marines and tanks in the background. A lot of Banes are going to get picked off here in the back. Way more squishy. And he's going to wrap around, I think, the gold side over here. Yeah, he's going to try to push here from the bottom.
Yeah, some good micro on both sides, but ByuN's standing army right now, I like it a little bit more. Even though Solar has 1-1 to the 1-0 here of ByuN in terms of upgrades, 55 Marines like this, Bailing speed is about to finish, but if these Bailings don't get the connections that they need, or if this run-by doesn't get the damage that it needs to, Solar could be in a lot of trouble because his worker lead, it's not that substantial, and ByuN has a 50% army supply advantage right now, which is huge.
He actually just lost that command center. That was not canceled. Yeah, it was actually killed off, which is wild. That push is going to come up here with the tanks. Yeah, this is a little bit of an uncomfortable spot. Terran has like dominion over all of this area down here. He's going to siege up. There are Banes, but there's going to be at least 3 tanks that I saw that can hit this from there.
Well, this is such a tough fight here for Solar. He's going to try and get the surround right now. Ling's flanking in the middle on top of the siege tanks, but there's a lot of Marines to guard them. Padding backwards, the siege tank's almost a wall here against the Bailings, and ByuN, one of the best players in the world at focusing down Bailings. I don't know if you can do it against that amount. At the same time, look at this. This expansion here for Solar is getting absolutely ravaged by 2 medevacs worth of Marines. 12 drones are going to fall, basically equalizing the worker counts. ByuN's not done yet either. He's getting, what, even more drones, trying to get the hatchery too, and now he's going to come back into this expansion. ByuN is everywhere, Tasteless.
It's so important that Solar holds this right now, or he may just lose control of this game. Beautiful
he
targeting
has no
there.
Bailings left. It's just pure Ling. I think ByuN might have just done it.
I think he just won the game here.
Oh my God, what an upset Solar. Here in the elimination match, potentially the first player out from Group D, and in fact he will be, as ByuN takes the 2-1 win, and in one fell swoop with a nice shakeup and build, just really leaning in to the Marine count there is ByuN.
That was beautiful. I gotta say,
damn, what a
I am
push.
stunned that Solar got knocked out first. I know I was telling everybody that. I'm like, hey guys, I mean, just be ready. He might be eliminated, but I didn't really believe it. I thought, no way. Well, I mean, what a change of pace. And Solar's been consistently, you know, always top 2 Zergs in Korea for a long time here.
What a comeback there by ByuN in this series. Game 2 and Game 3 played really well. 2 different play styles. Or Game 1 and Game 3, excuse me.
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought that build that Solar did with the Brood Lords was the first time. I'm all fumbled up, yeah. But
it happens.
Man, what a series there by ByuN. Guys, when we get back, we'll find out if ByuN can win the rematch against Nightmare in the final match of Group D. We'll see you in a few minutes.
God, I'm low, guard my soul. All of my thoughts be dark like coal. Face down in the water, I float. I try to speak my mind, but I choke. I'm on the tightrope. Tired, I can't cope. No lying, no hope. The lying might show. Up to the party, y'all don't want smoke. Energize the body, raise up the arm. Right now, tell me who you are, get in the car. Right now, you for the stars, I want it all. Right now, tell me who you are, get in the car. Right now, you for the stars, I want it all. Right now, tell me who you are, get in the car. Right now, you for the stars, I want it all. Right now, just into the car, fighting no war. Right now, we shitting on y'all, I'm in the store. Right, put your feet on the ground, look around. It's the siege and we back in your town, burning it down. You've been waiting too long for the sound. Time is now. Got you hanging on every single word, verb and now. Give you what you been waiting for now. What you praying for? This the type of we slaving for. Get you another hit. I know you craving more. I'm in this, but they go Super Saiyan boy. I am a higher being. Whole world at my command. I got the whole damn planet here in the palm of my hand. Watch out, back out, wait up, might wake up, stay up, they gon' get it, they gon' take us, raise up, we got color, they try and gray us, you are not listening to the greatest. Right now.
I thought I was ready to run into you. Until today I thought that maybe I was moving on too. Ran through the options of how this would go. Forgot to add the one where you show up with someone else though. Act natural. Tell myself to act natural. I think I'm gonna be sick. It's all sinking in. The thought of you happy with someone new. It's got my stomach in knots. How we called it off. We can't circle back like we always do. If I think too much, if I bring you up, it'll come rushing back just like that. And now I think I'm gonna be sick. It's making me sick. How you're good is new and I'm far from it. Said you were a slow burn. How's that working out? It seems like yesterday that you were mine, but you're hers now. Act natural. Tell myself to act natural. I think I'm gonna be sick. It's all sinking in. The thought of you happy with someone new. It's got my stomach in knots. How we called it off. We can't circle back like we always do. If I think too much, if I bring you up, it'll come rushing back just like that. And now I think I'm gonna be sick. It's making me sick. How you're good is new and I'm far from it.
You looking for trouble? Let's get ready to rumble. Rumble. Let's get ready to rumble. Tell them it's going down now. Let's go. with a frown. Felt like I was gonna drown. Picked on like a clown. Wanted to give this up too many times. Question myself like where are the signs? That's when I realized what's inside me. You don't want none. Come and try me. Ain't you far to turn it around. Tell the opposition it's going down. Pedal to the floor, never slowing down. Keep on climbing till we touch the sky now. Put my shades on, let the top down. Tiger on the loose, yeah, it's going down. I can't hit a finish. If it's me against the world, then I'm winning. Let's get ready to rumble. Rumble. Let's get ready to rumble. You looking for trouble? Let's get ready to rumble. Rumble. Let's get ready to rumble. Tell them it's going down now.
입고 왔어. 야, 야 너무 야해. 바지 좀. 어때요? 섹시하나요? 언니 전 이걸로 할게요. 너무 야하지 않아? 이게 아프리카 심해에 걸리는 거 아니야? 아니 그래서 다들 노출할 옷들이 좀 있으신 거예요? 나 2개 정도 골라놨거든요. 진짜? 나 입고 왔어. 야, 야 너무 야해. 어머, 어머. 예쁘다 안개마. 바지 좀. 어때요? 섹시하나요? 바지가 저게 뭐야? 언니 전 이걸로 할게요. 너무 야하지 않아? 이거 입어도 되나? 모르겠다.
섹시한 옷 가져왔어요. 이 의상의 포인트는 훤히 드러난 어깨, 몸의 실루엣이 드러나는 아주 이거 타이트하다고요, 이거 아주.
그 길거리에서 흔히 저 여자 섹시하다 했을 때 그 흰 티에 청바지? 그리고 약간 서련님 그 느낌을 제가 좀 이런 건가?
오늘 의상 컨셉은 섹시 큐티예요. 있는 거 다 보여주자. 딱 달라붙는 낫을 한번 준비를 했어요. 아마 갖춰져 있는 건 저니까 아마 제가 제일 섹시하지 않을까. 이런 붙는 옷을 입으면 또 얼마나 튀어나올까. 여러분들 조금 이따 기대 많이 해주세요.
Let's go.
Welcome back, everybody. It's time for the final match here in Group D. This is Nightmare versus ByuN. It's a rematch. Nightmare did 2-0 ByuN. It's been kind of a crazy day today. Basically, like every game has been an upset.
Yeah, I would say so. It does feel that way.
Yeah, not that I guess DRG beating Nightmare is necessarily an upset, but you guys get what I'm saying. I mean, you know.
It feels like one with the way Nightmare's been playing online, man.
True,
He's
true.
looking really good.
Yeah, actually, I stand corrected. You're right. So, you know, let's see what happens. I will say Nightmare seems to have a really good handle on this matchup and really knows how to kind of lock ByuN out of any opportunities. He just sort of plays a kind of a slow, almost boring style of just kind of massing up the Stalkers and the Zealots, getting Colossi and Storm eventually.
It's very old school how quickly he goes into Storm.
Yeah, and then he just, you know, kind of boxes him out of 3 or 4 bases, just, you know, pokes in, never overextends, keeps growing on the map, eventually filling in those exterior bases with cannons, and wins the game from there. We're ready, guys. This game is loaded up. Let's go to Site Delta.
Let's get ready to rumble, rumble. Let's get ready to rumble. You looking for trouble? Let's get ready to rumble, rumble.
Nightmare spawning in the top left, ByuN in the bottom right. And last time these two faced off, Nightmare did the same build, both games, more or less. One game was a 2-gate, one game was a 3-gate, but Blink Stalkers with a Robo.
He got to the
4
same
gas.
place. You know, he started out in different ways, but he ends up in the same spot. I don't try to be too predictive as a caster, like, oh, but I think I can in this game. I think we're going to see the same stuff from Nightmare.
I think so too. I think this is the kind of thing that you do until ByuN shows you that he can stop it.
Yeah, I mean,
and then you experiment, because Game 1 and Game 2 looked very similar between Nightmare and ByuN, but Game 2 looked even better for Nightmare the second time around when their builds lined up. And Nightmare kind of playing an interesting take on Protoss, a little bit more gas heavy than people generally like to do these days, with a later third base and very fast Storm and a Prism. You were saying it's almost Brood War-esque. It's reminiscent of things that you're seeing in the ASL recently.
Yeah, well, we've seen this big uptick in like 4 Templars and a shuttle for Storm, and it's kind of treated almost as like endgame tech, like Arbiters or Carriers. You just get a couple of Templars and just kind of over time whittle down the HP. In TVP and Brood War, it's all mech, but it's, you know, if you can just get, you know, over the course of the game, like 8 or 12 good Psy Storms off, usually you can kind of break them. And as we saw it pick up in ASL for StarCraft 1, we saw it pick up in GSL for StarCraft 2.
It is funny how those two leagues kind of mirror each other at times, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of players watch both, you know, and you know, I have had moments where, like, I see somebody do something in another RTS, and I'm like, oh, maybe I could do that in StarCraft, or, you know what I'm saying?
I have the same experience. Playing a lot of different RTS, sometimes you take inspiration in places you don't necessarily think you'll find it.
Yeah, you'll see an idea that's applicable somewhere. And obviously with StarCraft 1 and 2, they're the most like each other, right? Yeah. And so we've seen that, you know, get used more and more. This is going to be a very quick third CC.
I think this is the same build.
Let's see if it gets the 2 E-Bays. I think it's quicker than before.
It's different. It's a little bit different. Because this time he pulled off of gas. So he tried to have as high mineral income as you can reasonably have off of one base with a fast command center like this. And as a result, not going to be reactor Cyclones. Instead, going to be a faster third command center and a very fast second barracks to follow up. I mean, very fast after a 3CC opening. About as fast as you can get it. And so it's kind of going to be an interesting 3 racks play here from ByuN, and I wonder how this is going to line up against the build that Nightmare is doing. I'm just kind of assuming that Nightmare is going to do the same thing here in Game 1 of this series, since it worked in both games of his opening series against ByuN, but ByuN has had time to think about how he's going to try and solve the puzzle that is Nightmare's PvT build, because he really did look confused about what to do when we had the camera shots of him after the match where they opened up tonight. And now he's coming in with a little bit of a fresh take. I like the 3 racks opening here with a faster third command center. And I'm wondering if this is going to build to a timing attack that might hit in a moment where Nightmare is fragile, when he's trying to get those Templar out with Storm and get that third base established, because it's a little bit of a slow build here for Nightmare. He goes into 2 or 3 gateways, gets the robotics facility, obviously gets the blink with the Twilight Council very early, and then double gas at the natural expansion, and then a much later third with the Templar Archives.
Oh, is that actually stuck there?
Is it stuck?
Can it move out of the bottom? I think he just forgot to.
I think he's
check
just
for an idle
chilling.
SCV. The little SCV doing yoga stretches there.
Some break.
I was thinking about this while you were talking, State. Like, I feel like the observer's showing us, like, there's no way this can be trapped back here.
I feel like the casters are also like, yeah, gotta move on, man.
Kind of weird to see ByuN have an idle SCV.
Yeah, but you were saying you were thinking about something, right?
Yeah. I was gonna say I wouldn't mind seeing ByuN not play so macro-like.
Charge
like I would like to see him actually just do like a 2-base timing attack or something. I feel like that's gonna suit him better. Okay, it wasn't. So he just had an idle worker there. Because sometimes you can get something stuck and give it like a command to move and.
Quiet quitting.
Yeah, quiet quitting.
Or that dumb phrase during COVID.
Dude, that was the stupidest phrase.
Oh,
people
God.
are quiet quitting. Here's why you should quiet quit. And then it turned into real firing, which is like what happens when you're a bad employee.
Oh, excuse me. I don't know why. For some reason, I thought this was charge first because we haven't seen Blink Stalkers do anything this map.
No, I think,
Nightmare's just been sitting in the back of his home. I even commented it was Blink earlier. So I'm a little bit off my game today after having casted StarCraft 1 versus StarCraft 2
yeah. By the way, guys,
yesterday.
when you finish watching this, go check out the StarCraft Evolved show match, which is a mod with StarCraft 1 and StarCraft 2.
Yeah, I'm sure it's on the Afrika TV YouTube channel. I think they're calling it Super Match, but it was literally yesterday. Go watch it if you missed it. It was so much fun having ASL players play against StarCraft 2 players. Well, I guess ASL versus ASL and StarCraft 2 versus StarCraft 2 more or less, but Brood War races against StarCraft 2 races was really cool to watch. Absolutely go check that out. And ByuN absolutely going to be hitting that timing. And this is what we were talking about, Tasteless. We were a little bit afraid about this because this bio ball is going to be moving across the map with the first 2 medevacs at the timing where Nightmare is just now establishing the third base. He's just now starting to mine from it. The first Templar are still warping in. And Storm is only going to finish when this bio ball moves across the map. And there isn't going to be that much Gateway Army to really support them. So this is a scary moment here for Nightmare. He has to execute this defense very well. You cannot really afford to miss storms against the huge, massive bio that ByuN has here. And you definitely can't lose Stalkers like this. I mean, he's also sending these Zealots across the map. I kind of like and hate this. It's good because, I mean, counterattacks like this are always a great way to force some units back, and yet ByuN is pulling so much back to deal with this, in fact. But had ByuN pushed forward with everything, it could have been a very scary moment there for Nightmare, considering the wall in here, the natural expansion. But instead, both players just going to try and recall their forces. Well, I guess ByuN is going to walk. Terran version of recall. Stim and run.
The Terran recall is just moving there.
But so far, ByuN's playing a really good game. Nightmare has lost so many more units compared to ByuN.
ByuN's going to swoop back in here again. I don't know what's here to defend right now.
Ooh, that Forge could potentially go down if the battery falls first.
That's a juicy target, and there's certainly not enough Stalkers warping in there to defend that. Meanwhile, a push coming down here. The Medevac's lagging slightly behind. The Zealots are going to be picked off. Oh, and he gets it. Denied. +1 attack is denied. That's actually really big.
I thought for sure that was going to finish, but instead, yeah, the deny coming through. I mean, this drop was worth its weight already. That was the only Forge Nightmare had upgrading, so big loss here for Protoss, and ByuN is just macroing up a Storm right now, 150 supply to the 115 of Nightmare. And unless Nightmare has like the most clutch Storms on these 4 Templar, he might just die to this pressure. There's no Colossus transition coming. It's 11 Zealots, 11 Stalkers against all of this army here, plus some Storm. Let me tell you, Tasteless, Zealots and Stalkers without much AoE support, they do not do well against an army like this one. The Storms have to be huge here for Nightmare. There's some high energy Templar. First couple of Storms, not that bad. A lot of damage being done to this bio. In fact, with these Storms, there's more left over. But is there enough sustain? Most of the Zealots are gone. 7 more warping in now are going to reinforce. Seems like ByuN is almost content to try and lick his wounds, but Nightmare does not want to give him that opportunity. Look at these follow-up Storms. So good from Nightmare.
I mean, Nightmare's kind of getting to where he needs to be now. You know, he's survived the onslaught from ByuN. He's got enough of the map. He's got the Templar tech up now. Like, unless that Templar Archives is destroyed, Templars are going to be in this game forever. And now he's going to get that final piece of the tech, which is the robotic support bay to make the Colossi. And usually, once that's done, ByuN can't win the game. So ByuN needs to get something done pretty soon here.
But yeah, I feel like ByuN is going to get that one thing done. He's already coming into the natural expansion. Oh, he's picking off the Templar here at the third. No reaction there from Nightmare. Oh, the Widow Mines, they get the Prism full of Templar. There's only, what, 1 Storm left on the map right now for Nightmare?
Oh, this is insane. You know,
the game just turned on its head.
I was just saying, like, as long as, you know, he gets that tech up, it's, you know, there's not much ByuN can do, so ByuN's going to have to do something before that. He did it. And without any Templars now in this mix, it's going to be very tough for just like Stalker Zealot to actually deal with this.
And it might look like Nightmare is stabilizing right now, but what we don't see on screen is the huge mass of ByuN's army getting ready to move across the map. 77 army supply. Ghosts are now entering the mix. The Storms are few and far between here for Nightmare. He has 3 in total with 4 Ghosts on the map. Best case scenario here for Nightmare, he gets 3 money Storms off. I don't even know if that's going to be enough. That's the first Storm. He has 2 left. And these Ghosts, they're going to have EMP. I don't know if Nightmare's going to be able to hold on. This fourth base is such a juicy target right now for ByuN. There's the EMP. No more AoE damage. One Templar with energy in the back. That's all Nightmare's got.
Yeah, this actually could be the lethal attack right now. Another storm comes down, and ByuN just pushes right through it. He's going for the jugular. He's going to move in now. These probes have nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. They are all going to be executed, and then the Nexus is going to fall.
Nightmare.
I think this game's done.
I think so, too.
I wouldn't even be surprised if he picks up and drops in the main here.
Nightmare is trying to survive. He's re-expanding to the 9 o'clock position, and he's hoping and praying that defensively, with his first Colossus, with the second one underway, with some storms, he'll be able to survive, but ByuN's army is insane right now. Look at the resources lost. Nightmare's lost almost 5K more res this game than ByuN. That's how good ByuN's engagements have been. Oh, and the money EMP adding insult to injury. Even with no EMP, I think ByuN runs over this position, but that's going to be it. Try as you might with that Colossus. Even Parting couldn't come back from that one with Colossus Micro as ByuN takes game number 1. And that was the adjustment we needed to see from ByuN, because game 1 and game 2, he was confounded by Nightmare's opening. He tried the same build 2 games in a row, did not work. Game number 1 of the second set, similar ideas, but a different build-up. No Cyclones, faster third command center, 3 racks follow-up, hit the timing with a ton of bio in the first 2 medevacs, just when Storm is coming online. And that timing slowed the rest of the growth there for Nightmare. The Colossus are going to be slower behind because you need to warp in more Templar to get more Storm to try and keep on the same footing as Terran, because if you don't have enough Storm, you just die. That's your main damage with that army that Nightmare is playing at. It's one of the reasons why we don't see Protoss players go for Storm this quickly very often in PvT. And ByuN, he absorbs the damage from the Storm. He doesn't let his bio die. It gets in the red, and then he just comes back. He recharges, he heals, he comes in again. And Nightmare was just never able to grow into an army that could actually stop the forces ByuN mustered. And so Nightmare, now that it feels like his build, his macro approach has been solved, I think is very wisely requesting a break here to try and maybe go back into the lab and think about what he should bring out here in this next game, because I don't think he can do the same thing again. I think that if ByuN goes for the same opening against Nightmare's same opening, we're going to see the same story from game 1 retold in game number 2.
I think so. I wouldn't mind seeing ByuN even get a little bit more aggressive than even before. Yeah, like if you can just kind of get in there. Like first of all, that attack at the in the middle of game 1 was pretty wild. I mean, the fact that the War Prison was shot down, that was probably the biggest part. He sniped the Templars. He got over into that natural base, killed off a lot of the workers. Yeah, but he basically got in there before the picture could be completed. ByuN was way too passive in the first best of 3 and basically let Nightmare play the game that he wanted to play. And the fact that he was a little bit more smart about how he initiated fights was really good. So I think in game 2, if ByuN's going to come out on top, something similar or maybe even something more aggro. Like, I wouldn't mind seeing a 2-base timing here. Just hit him when he's trying to take the 3rd base.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea.
You know? Yeah.
Have to wait and see what the map is going to be. Actually, do we have that loaded up here? Oh, the chat's blocking. Oceanborn
is our map.
Going to be the map. Yeah, I could see a timing come from ByuN on this one. I don't know if he's going to go for it. He seems to be leaning pretty heavily into macro play so far today. I don't know how many fast 3CCs we've seen from ByuN in TVZ and in TVP. It feels like basically every single game, if not every single game, right?
ByuN sometimes is very formulaic in his openings. I mean, I think it's good that he's not just doing like 2-base aggro stuff, but I feel like now it's time to go tap into the old ByuN style.
I think it would be good.
You know what I'm saying?
Especially here with Nightmare on match point, Nightmare kind of has to do something a little bit different from what he prepared maybe. That's why he's asking for this pause, I think. If this was going according to plan, maybe you don't go for the pause here as Nightmare, right?
Well, I think also, you know, the truth is like ByuN had this, Nightmare had this crazy upset, is looking amazing. We're like, okay, well, now the only thing he has to worry about is if Solar advances. Solar doesn't. So now all he has to do is repeat what already happened. And he should be fine, right? He should get out. And now it's like, uh-oh, ByuN's adapting. He's changed his play. He's kind of on his redemption arc right now. So unsurprising to see Nightmare actually go for the pause here. I assume probably go to the restroom. I don't know.
Collect
himself. Try to figure out, okay, what is going wrong here? I've already done this once. I literally did it just an hour ago. and try to come back and do it all over again here.
Yeah, I hope this is Nightmare trying to collect himself more than anything else, because if it's Nightmare trying to go back and come up with a way to reapproach the series, that can be a problem against somebody like ByuN.
I think so.
If ByuN comes in with some cheeky timing attack here, or even just goes back to the same build, Nightmare's going to have to find an answer for it. Guys, we're getting ready to go to map number 2 on Oceanborn. ByuN 1 map win away from the round of 8. Nightmare 1 loss away from elimination.
Okay, so we've got Nightmare down here in the bottom left, ByuN in the bottom, sorry, top left, ByuN in the bottom right.
Keep going.
He has the card. Nice. Imagine Nightmare wins on the day you have the card at the studio.
The card is...
I know how to analyze this from here on out.
What's it called? Horcrux? What's the
Horcrux?
What's the word? You know, the Harry Potter thing with like Voldemort.
Man.
I'm sorry.
I'm not a Harry Potter. I don't know.
There's like it's like this artifact or this object that like has the life essence of a person or an entity, and if it's broken, if it's destroyed, the person also dies. What if that card is Nightmare's life?
That's called the GSL for me. That's my Horcrux. Yeah, man. Maybe
that card might be his lucky charm.
Yeah, you got to get him to sign that card after we're done here.
You gotta convince Nightmare to make you stay in Korea to come back again if you win. It's like, man, it's the card. If the card's not here, I don't know if he could advance from the round of 8 to the round of 4.
That's right.
It's gonna be shaky, man. But let's see if Nightmare comes in with something new here in game number 2 of this series, because so far 3 games played, same build more or less 3 times, and I think that's smart from Nightmare. I don't hate him at all for doing the same build 3 times in a row, because until the previous map, ByuN didn't really have an answer for it. But now that the answer is here, I really think we need to see some more range coming in from Nightmare in this opening, and I think perhaps ByuN also feels the same way. Look at this. He's going for a different build this time than all the other games. Faster Factory. I don't think this is going to be with a fast third command center, although it looks like he might be pulling off of gas a little bit. We'll have to wait and see exactly how ByuN is going to be macroing this one up. And it's the Twilight Council again for Nightmare.
Yeah, Twilight Council coming down. Second gas over here for ByuN. And look, I mean, I got to praise Nightmare for a second here. He's had a really impressive set of games so far. It's too bad he wasn't quite able to deliver here with DRG. It is a different matchup, and I think Nightmare is not exactly known for like going for super late game carrier play or anything like that. Nice shutdown here.
Yeah, that was some
takes that Reaper out. The Reaper really didn't get much presence on the map at all. Here's that double Cyclone play we were talking about.
And this is really smart from ByuN, I think. This build looks like the previous build that he was doing that Nightmare was beating.
Right, right. This one has a second barracks behind it.
Has a second barracks.
And has a tech lab being added on over here too.
Yeah, but from Nightmare's perspective, this looks about the same, I think. You're going to be expecting these 2 Cyclones to come out. He will confirm it. It's not a Widowmine opening.
Yeah.
Everything
and he fakes it out. Yeah, he even starts a Widowmine just to make it look like the factory's going to keep making. A little bit of a red herring there for the scouting.
And a siege tank starts up Tasteless.
So
ByuN is going to be going.
Push. He's going with the build I was talking about. I mean, at least
the
idea.
Tasteless.
That's right.
What you guys don't know is that while Nightmare was going to the bathroom, Tasteless actually sneakily walked down to the studio, floor and told ByuN what he had to do.
I'm a warg, okay?
You're
like
a warg.
I'm a warg. I actually like my mind goes into their bodies and I do the strats. What is it, Bran in Game of Thrones? He can like warg into different animals. That's I warg into pro gamers.
That would make for a
every win you've ever seen in StarCraft was me warging into the player's mind.
That would make for a great StarCraft 2 based short story. I'm just imagining you and Dan both warging into the players, and you're controlling the Protoss, and Dan is losing, and that's why he's just like, man, Protoss
Artosis
is
is a warg too. He can just warg into anything that's rage quitting. Okay, that's his special power.
All right, well, these Cyclones going to try and exert some presence here on the map. First siege tank is done. Second one to get started here for ByuN as he's continuing to build towards this timing push. And this is the first time that Nightmare is really getting an inkling of what ByuN is cooking up. He's even going to let the Shade complete. I don't know if that's a mistake or if he's just fishing for scouting information, but Nightmare is going to double gas again. So it looks about the same, but I think this time he's not going to go for the third base. He's going to try and meet this on the map because with the Blink Stalkers, you need the kite, and it's even the Templar Archive. So that's going to take a long time to pay off here for Nightmare. He might be misreading the situation a little bit, Tasteless.
He
notices.
It.
He notices.
Does he recall here?
I feel like it's a little bit too late, all right? I don't really know what you do here as Nightmare. With Blink Stalkers, you kind of need to kite the Terran all the way to your natural expansion. That's how you get the value out of Blink. This composition is not that good in a straight-up fight. Instead, ByuN is going to go basically uncontested all the way to the third base. He's starting bunkers already.
Yeah, he's going to set up a little outpost over here, and once he saw those Stalkers down there, he might send the reinforcements. You got to be careful because there's a couple ways Protoss stop this. One of the ways is they just get in between the units that are trying to link up with this initial push.
Oh, man, I don't know if these bunkers are going to get denied. Nightmare once again going for the counterattack, but he's not meeting the reinforcements in the middle. He would love to catch those if he could.
Okay, so he's just going to try to drop that into the main. This should send the rest of the reinforcements down there. One gateway's going to fall.
Yeah, Warp Prism in the main base with 4 Stalkers right now. Going to try and get some damage done. 2 Stalkers waiting outside the natural expansion as well. More gateways in production. I think the Templar Archives did get canceled, as Nightmare right now is in basically panic mode, scrambling to try and defend this. You can tell he's kind of spread thin right now. He's building a Templar Archive, or a Dark Shrine instead. He's losing Stalkers in the main base of ByuN too.
It's kind of a crazy hard contain out here at the front.
Yeah, the walls are closing in, but that's a nice pick by Nightmare to get that siege tank. Yeah. Any win like that is huge.
Oh my God, the Stalker's eating so much damage. This a push is still happening up here, although Nightmare's not really microing it. 2 tanks are going to be able to siege up in range of the Robo.
Yeah, at least that second Immortal should be able to finish unless the Marines focus fire it down. It's very low on HP. Nightmare, I think you got to save that, man. It goes down. No second Immortal here for Nightmare.
And the next target's going to be the Nexus. And if the Nexus goes down, it's over. He's going to salvage 3 of these bunkers, leaving 1 up here in the front.
ByuN is losing so much economy back on his side of the map, though. 26 SCVs have gone down just to this small group of Stalkers and a Warp Prism. Nightmare is microing that attack so well.
Thing is, I mean, this Nexus, I think it's just going to fall, right? I don't think the...
Yes, overcharge. You gotta overcharge the Nexus! Okay, it's healing, it's healing, it's healing. The recall now coming in. Charge is done. Can Nightmare actually break out of this position?
Oh, dude, this is insane.
Oh, the Immortal focus firing down. The Warp Prism micro as well. I think Nightmare might just barely be able to stabilize. What an insane hold in his natural expansion. The Nexus on just a sliver of HP.
3 DTs come out here. There is something on, okay, there's this on the minimap. Now, you know, he can actually pull some, I think actually ByuN could still win this.
There's a chance. He's banking up 3 scans, despite the fact that ByuN lost so many workers. He is not dropping mules. He knows he needs to have the scans available.
Yeah, yeah.
5 DTs on the map. First scan comes down.
He bruises the second. No shields left.
At least 2 more scans in the bank. There's going to be an easy drop in the main base that ByuN has to deal with. There's the second scan. 1 more left. Immortal gets focus fire down. Stim is done now. This is a lot of damage.
Now he's going to get the Nexus 100%. There's no stopping that.
Oh, instead he's going for all the workers right now. The DTs are dropping in the main base of ByuN. That's why you see the SCVs falling on your screen. Still 1 DT alive. Engineering bay not done just yet.
I didn't realize the eBay wasn't done. I was about to say he needs to make some turrets over here. He's going to go back.
I think that's enough damage there for ByuN.
He just has to get turrets up and stabilize. A scan?
Oh, turret even getting built here in the front.
Yeah, I would just ditch the main.
Nightmare has almost no army left. 16 army supply. The Warp Prism is down. There's no more counterattack threat here for ByuN. ByuN is so close to closing this one out.
Oh my God, the DT's going to come out. You know what? I think ByuN has this. I think he can just deny the Nexus from being made. Oh my God.
It barely goes into the range. Stalker's blinking forward, but ByuN's army is too strong. And Nightmare once again is going to go out in the round of 16. He came so close here in the final match, but ByuN, he came out with a tasteless build. The 2 base push.
Jesus worked into his body and made the games happen.
I mean, Nightmare's going to try and fight this out as best he can, but he's on a 1 base economy with 8 army supply to a ByuN that has stabilized back at home. There's a missile turret in the natural expansion. There soon will be one in the main. And look at this army, Tasteless.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a scrappy setup outside the natural, but when the reinforcements come, I mean, that's all you have to do is just deny the other base. I mean, it's fine if ByuN's economy's in shambles. And by the way, ByuN just really adapting.
Yeah, this is a very well-played best of 3.
Oh my God, he's so good.
I mean, just considering the way that the first best of X series between these two guys went, where Nightmare was able to win 2-0 and ByuN just looked confounded. For ByuN to come in with a different macro build here in game number 1, and then the timing push in game number 2
Great
to
series.
deliver the win.
That was my favorite game of the night, actually.
That was so
one
much
right
fun.
there.
And you can see how happy ByuN is, man. He is pumped up by that win. And the fan favorite going to advance. I mean, my heart breaks a little bit here for Nightmare because he keeps cutting so close to the round of 8 here in the GSL. But once again, going out in the round of 16, we will have another Terran advancing into the playoffs in pretty spectacular fashion. I mean, ByuN, after a very shaky first series to start off tonight, looked so good against Solar, so good against Nightmare. Well-deserved berth to the round of 8.
Man, I feel bad for Nightmare too. I mean, it was a real emotional roller coaster. He kind of started the evening off with, you know, really inspirational play, you know, with some deep late game PvT. And then, you know, at the end it was, you know, this is why ByuN's had so much success and is so, you know, known in the StarCraft competitive scene, is he isn't a player that adapts. He's always had his own play style and his own characteristics. But, you know, he kind of looked at the situation and I think recalibrated really well.
Yeah, both the build that he did in this game on Site Delta, it felt like was so good against Nightmare's opening. It just had so much play, and then to completely mix things up and for the first time tonight go for this 2-base timing push. And really any of the matchups. ByuN was basically playing 3 CC macro games every single time. And then here on match point, just comes out with a special cheese as Stasis works into his body and deliver the siege tank push. I love it. We were wondering if he was going to do it.
Yeah.
And Oceanborn, it's a pretty good map. If you're actually able to breach into that third base, there's different paths you can go down. Nightmare was not able to catch that army in the middle of the map. Let's hear what ByuN has to say. Well, that wasn't an easy series, ByuN. In fact, you battled really hard to make it here to the round of 8. You almost were knocked out, but you're able to fight your way all the way back. How are you feeling? Well, after my first match against Nightmare, after I lost 2-0, I felt like it was going to be a really hard day. Yeah, I've been practicing a lot lately, but I feel like it's been hard for me to focus. So mentally, I had a hard time processing the loss and even getting through my practice to come here today, but luckily I was still able to make it to the quarterfinals. While all of us casters could feel your desperation in that final match against Nightmare, what was going through your mind in those last moments? Well, you know, I prepared really hard, specifically for TBZ coming into today. I kind of was expecting to meet DRG instead of Solar, but when I played against Solar, I could kind of tell that he isn't really in the best condition. It definitely isn't the Solar in peak form that I've come to expect. So there was a moment during that series that I just kind of realized that if I play my game, I'm going to be able to win. Well, you played 2 different series against Nightmare. You lost the first one, and then you're able to come back in series number 2. Well, I felt like it was more about momentum than anything else. Because Nightmare lost to Dongre Gu and I was able to beat Solar, I felt momentum was on my side and I was able to ride that to the victory in the final match. Well, ByuN, you made it in 2nd place. In the quarterfinals, there's Maru and Sue. And by the way, guys, get into that in a minute. ByuN is actually the one in the group with Maru and Sue. So you always say, you know, Maru, I'm cheering for you. I want you to win. Maru cheers for you as well. You guys are such good friends. Is there any words you want to say to Maru? Well, no, I'm Maru's older brother. I'm as young. And we have such a long history playing against each other. And even in our most recent matches, the memory is fresh in my mind. Maru, it feels like he cheers for me a lot, but he's always the one that stops my path to a championship. But this time I think I might actually be able to beat him. Well, you know, it kind of feels, ByuN, like when you play against Protoss, it feels like kind of the ByuN of old with the builds that you're bringing out. In fact, the Korean casters are talking a lot about 2016 ByuN, one of his best years. Ben says, well, you know, I don't really think about that old moment so much. I just focus on trying to do my best. And there were some great moments when I was able to snipe those key units in that match there against Nightmare, but really, I just had some very good feelings in that last match. Well, here in the studio today, there's a lot of fans supporting you, cheering you on, happy that you made it all the way into the round of 8. What do you have to say for them? And it says, well, you know, next week I have to actually leave Korea to go to a boot camp with my team, Shopify. And you know, because there's these overseas schedules, we're actually playing Group D ahead of Group C, so I'm grateful that GSL has been able to accommodate us players for that reason. Compared to pretty much everybody else in Korea, I'm actually going to be leaving Korea earlier to go to the United States to prepare for the tournament, and I'm doing that for my fans so that I can prepare and show the best possible games that I can. And
it's very cool.
I think that's very cool of him.
Yeah, you know, the CEO of Shopify, big StarCraft fan. Very cool to see you know, them supporting ByuN, and just a fantastic team. So this is our results today, guys. I got to say, really fun games. I wish we had a couple more 2-1s here, but sometimes it's just straight up 2-0s. ByuN, I mean, you know, I think my takeaway is just this is a guy that adapts. He kind of looks at the situation, analyzes what's going wrong. This is how you get better at StarCraft. You can't just be doing one thing or one build or one strat, right? It seemed like Nightmare came in here with like very solid late game PvT, and if the game goes on long enough, you'll never beat him. So don't let the game go on long. That's what ByuN did. He came in here and crushed it. Let's also not forget DRG. Whoa, this guy looks really good. I'm not sure, you know, how exactly he's going to fare as we get deeper in this group, but he's a real threat. He's looking very scary.
Yeah, by the way, during the interview with DRG, actually, the casters were confused about whether this was Group C or Group D for a moment, because we did change the schedule around.
I was literally about to be like, wait a minute, he's not, because they were saying he was in a group with Maru, and I'm like, that.
DRG is the one in the group with Hero and Creator, not with Maru and Sue, as we said in the interview. So sorry for the misinformation, the fake news.
The fake news.
ByuN is in the group with Maru and Sue, and next match next week, it's going to be Group C, Cure, Rogue, Stats, and Dark. This is an insane group. Rogue is back. Stats is seemingly back into the form of old. He looked so strong as a Shield of Ire previously in GSL. And this is the group that I have been, I mean, along with Rainer's group, the most excited to watch by far. I cannot wait to see how Rogue does, fresh from the military service, even almost rocking the military haircut here in the photos.
Yeah, looking like he's fresh out of the military, right? He's still got the short hair. This is a crazy group. I don't know who on earth is going to get out. I'm also very interested in seeing how Rogue is going to perform, because let's admit it, Rogue is at times the best player in Korea.
I would love for him to just come back.
Multiple-time world champion.
With a resounding victory. I don't know how much he was actually training over the course of his military, because you can still play if you have the time. You just can't compete for money.
You're allowed to have a computer in the internet. You know, you could still do that, but you're not allowed to be. You can't make money off of anything other than your military service.
That has to be your job. That has to be your focus.
A side
as a
hustle
career.
is illegal, so you can't do that.
So Rogue, we don't know exactly how much he's been practicing. I don't know if he said so in interviews just yet, but he's already qualified for the GSL, so whatever the amount is, it certainly has been enough to be top 16 in Korea, which is one of the reasons why, Classic, for instance, isn't in this GSL, is because players like Rogue coming back, pretty incredible to see. I am so hyped to cast
I think
Rogue.
we're almost through everybody having done their military service. Is that correct?
Yeah, it feels like that. Trap also recently out of military service, didn't qualify for this GSL, but tried, got really close.
By the way, guys, if you want to join us for that match next week, the information to get the tickets is right there. We're not selling out. Usually early on in GSL, there's still room to get in, but you do have to get a ticket, so do that.
Yeah, get the ticket, get it early, play it safe. Saves you the hassle of coming here and trying to fumble with your phone, and maybe if you're traveling here, you have like one of those SIM cards from the airport. It's not the best connection.
I'm glad we put this up every time there's a GSL, because eventually it gets to the finals. That does sell out.
Yes.
Okay. Whether people are flying in from other countries, traveling in from different parts of Korea, or people that are just here in Seoul, Korean or foreigner. So do be sure to get a ticket. Do get it.
Fun day.
I enjoyed today.
Too.
I
Big
was
upset.
worried it might be like lackluster games. It's honestly a weaker group than the other groups that we had, but I like what went down. Unsurprisingly, DRG and ByuN do get out. Solar is eliminated. Again, shocking. I mean, he's a guy we always expect to be top 8, top 4. Yeah, okay, that's all the time we have, guys. Thank you for joining us. We love you. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.